Okay, it's been a long time since I've done a stream. In fact, how long has it been since I've streamed? I'm a little curious. I'd like to find out. Go to YouTube app. God, I need to clean. I've got like a sticky spot on here. I really need to clean this room. This whole thing. This whole thing sucks. It's so ugly in here. God. That's how distracted I've been with everything, with school, with work, with videos. I mean, looks like 5 months ago was the last time I streamed. So it's been a little while. I haven't cleaned since the last time I streamed. So it's all very dirty. I've been, yeah. I've been okay, though. Just distracted is all. I found this really good beer that I really like. Very high alcohol percentage, too, for a beer, which is always appreciated. Makes it taste better. North Coast Brewing Company. Independent since 1988. Old Rasputin Russian Imperial Stout. Made in the tradition of the old English brewers who supplied Peter the Great. So it says. But I don't know. Just tastes good. It's like Guinness, but better. So, I wanted to stream again because Has Been Hotel Season 2 came out. It was phenomenal. It was fucking amazing. And it made me that much more confident that these Vivziepop haters are total fucking morons. They're not the only morons out here. There's I recently got a whole big wave of people watching my AI art video. Why, I don't know. I've looked it up. I can't find any actual place on the internet where that video is getting posted and people are talking about it, so I don't know why the hell I'm getting a big influx of viewers on that video. But they're worse than the last one. They're even worse than the last, and the last influx of viewers I got was really bad. They were all stupid, except for some of them. And those guys, there were a couple of them this time around, but man, like all they have to say is all they want to do is just insult me with no context, really. No actual reasoning, you know. They're just like, you're an idiot. You're fucking, you should die. You're blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, what the fuck is the point of saying that? Unless you have a reason for it, what is the point? Like, there's nothing satisfying about that kind of thing. Like, there's nothing satisfying about just insulting someone, because that's when you know they've won. When all you can do is just insult them, because you have nothing actually intelligent to say. And that's all I'm getting this time around. It's bullshit. I mean, I'm appreciative of the views. At least there's some good views. Let me pour some. I'm going to pour some water on this part of my desk and rub it to try to get that sticky spot off. Because, man, is that annoying me. There we go. It's a little better. It's Claudia Verdella. Hello there. Hello there. Isn't that how Ewan McGregor said it? Or Alec Guinness also said that line. Hello there, when he was talking to R2-D2. I should probably stream this on Discord so that there could be like a an interactive element with the server, but I don't really know how to get that balance right. I don't know how to do it. Hello there. Yeah. I know that's the one thing about you, Claudia, is that you know Star Wars. I've noticed that. You post Star Wars stuff every now and then. That's an unexpected Claudia thing. I wouldn't peg you for a Star Wars fan. I've been working on my singing lately. Actually, there's a song that I've been learning, I guess. Figure it out later. I got some options that can be used. Okay. Well, because I know Alchemist Soil does it on the other server that I'm in. And so, because he does it, I'm like, well, I should start doing that. I'll play this song. Dictionary for Extended Universe Lore. Wow. I brought in the other swivel chair that, like, totally falls over when you try to lean on it. Let me see. My singing voice has been nice and good and deep lately. But I like the progression on this song. It's an interesting one. It's a little out of tune. I'm going to tune it just a bit first. There we go. A gentle breeze from Hushabye Mountain. I'll take a earbud out so I can hear myself. Softly blows o'er Lullaby Bay. It fills the sails of boats that are waiting to sail your worries away. It isn't far to Hushabye Mountain, and your boat waits down by the quay. The winds of night so softly are sighing. Soon they will fly your troubles to sea. So close your eyes on Hushabye Mountain. Wave goodbye to the cares of the day, and watch your boat from Hushabye Mountain Sail far away from Lullaby Bay. Sail far away from Lullaby Bay. I'm not as I haven't been singing today. It's not as much of a singing day as it has been in the last couple days, so that's not me at my peak. But it's an interesting. I like the chord progression on that one, and I like the key change that it has in that last verse. I don't typically play songs with B flat and B, and this song has both B flat and B in them, which is interesting. I actually wrote this philosophical essay using Star Wars lore as the basis. Yeah, I mean, it's Star Wars lore, so.
So I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch Vivziepop Haters today. That's what I'm gonna do. Because I have a renewed hatred for them.
Y'all, Hell of a Boss is actually a really interesting show to me because at one point in time, I genuinely
Or Vivziepop critics. Not necessarily haters. Some of them are haters. But a lot of them just don't like the shows or the directions that the shows are going or certain aspects of the shows. There's not, I mean, like, I don't like everything about the shows, but it seems like the things that I don't like are the things that other people like, and it makes me mad. And the things that they don't like are the things that I like. So I'm just like, no, you got it all backwards. Like, it's so common to hear this line that Has Been Hotel is too fast paced. And it's like, no, that's bullshit. Hell of a Boss is too slow paced. That's what's going on. Has Been Hotel is perfectly paced, almost. I would say it's a hair too fast at times when it creates plot holes. But that's it. You know? But yeah.
thought with everything in me that this was going to be an indie animated show that I was really going to like. I thought it was going to be in the same realm of things like The Amazing Digital Circus or Metal Family, but then I grew up and I realized, the show kinda sucks. Not kinda, the show's kinda terrible. There's just so many things in this show that could have been amazing that lived up to absolutely nothing. A murder business run by demons doing hitman jobs.
I mean, there are definitely parts of the show I don't like. This one more than Has Been. Hell of a Boss is a show that definitely has lows, in my opinion. Like, it definitely sometimes isn't very good. In fact, I was watching it for a third time all the way through recently when it went on Prime. I still haven't finished that watch through. I haven't finished the final 5 episodes or 6. But yeah, it's like when it's not doing as heavy of a story, it loses me. When the story is just fluff and doesn't seem to matter, when it feels like filler, then I'm just like, the writing just doesn't hold up. There's a lot of issues that I have with it, and you get a lot of that with some of the early episodes of season 1. There's some awkward lines at times too. But
And who cares about that? Let's throw that in the bag. Really good character development between two characters that are in a relationship? Let's just regress all that. And I don't even want to talk about this guy. He just feels like a fever dream at this point. Yeah, if you haven't figured it out yet, I am not a hell of a boss stan. But even with all the critiques that I have of the show, I never thought in a million years when I first started watching this show from the pilot that it would contain a character that I would just hate so much more than every other character in the show. And yeah, if you haven't figured it out, that character is Stolas. Stolas is such an interesting case study.
Fuck you. Fuck you. Stolas is my favorite
Of a character to me, because if I'm being honest, in season 1 I didn't really dislike Stolas all that much as a character. I wouldn't go as far as to say that he was my favorite character in the show, but I knew that he was a fan favorite amongst the fandom, and I could kinda understand why. But over the course of season 2, Stolas quickly became my least favorite character in the entire show, so much to the point where it genuinely felt like I had to force myself to watch any scene he was in because I just did not like his character at all. And notice that I'm not the only one who feels this way, as a lot of people over the course of season 2 started to dislike Stolas as a character, or at least how he's framed in the show. So I want to go over the main reasons why I don't like Stolas and why I think he just kind of sucks as a character. So one of the biggest dynamics surrounding Stolas' character in the show is his relationship with his daughter Octavia. And look, the way the show frames it for a majority of both seasons is that Stolas cares about Octavia, but he isn't the best dad in the world. He makes mistakes, but at the end of the day he cares about her, and that's what really matters. And you'll hear fans of the show say something similar, say something along the lines of, yeah, Stolas isn't the best dad, but he is a good dad, he cares about Octavia and loves her. And look, if we're all being honest, I kinda thought that too halfway through season 2, and then I went back and rewatched season 1 and half of season 2, and then I realized, no, Stolas is actually a terrible father. What is everybody talking about? I realized the only reason I thought Stolas was a decent dad is because I was only halfway paying attention to the show. When I actually sat down and rewatched all the Stolas and Octavia episodes, and paid attention, I realized that Stolas is a terrible father.
What a bad father.
Number 1, Stolas cheated on his wife, and look, is Stella a saint?
Oh my god. Reducing it to, is Stella a saint? No. That's like saying, hey, was Hitler the nicest person ever? Nah. You know what I'm saying? It's like, no, there's a big degree of separation between that framing and the way it's actually presented in the show. What we actually see of Stella. No, she's not a saint. She is, quite literally a demon from hell. Literally. I mean, they all are, but she's the one who embodies that, I would say, in a relational context. Saying Stolas is a terrible father and making that a reason for hating him, it's a strange way of framing things, because we clearly see in this show that Stolas really, really, really wants to rescue his relationship with Octavia, but he's often very absent-minded about her and what she's going through, and a lot of that is because she just doesn't talk to him about it. A lot of people like to really put a lot of blame on Stolas, but I don't see anyone talking about Octavia's side of the situation. Like, hey, maybe if you want a relationship with your father that's better, or maybe you put some more work into it. I think a lot of people treat parent-child relationships like they are a one-sided thing. I think that really only applies to really young children. Once you reach a certain age, if you want to maintain that relationship's health, you have to put a little bit of effort into it. Because, he wants to have that good relationship, but he just gets distracted by everything else going on in his life, his relationship with Blitz and his divorce. And so, yeah, it can kind of blind him to what he's losing sometimes. That doesn't make him a terrible person or a terrible father. It just means he has weaknesses. And so this guy, it's weird that this guy's setting it up by saying, oh, people say that, what I just said. But then I actually watched the show again, and I saw that it wasn't the case. It's like, no, if you actually watch the show, you'll see that what I'm saying is the case. What other people are saying is the case. Like, what the fuck are you seeing? That's what I don't get. So let's keep watching.
Absolutely not. And however you feel on cheating, that's your moral priority. But one thing that we have to acknowledge is that Stolas cheating on his wife and publicly humiliating her caused his household to become a toxic environment for his daughter to live in. And I know
that is what caused the house to be a toxic environment for his daughter, not just Stella being a total cunt from the seventh circle of hell. Like, the fact that he got tired of her ass and decided to have a little bit of fun at her expense, partly. That's what made it. That was the problem. Like, this is victim blaming, dude, to the max. This is the thing that they do with Stolas all the time. It's always the victim blame. I don't get it. Like, why are people this cruel? You gotta take a guy who's suffering so much and then tear him down even more. Like, where does the impulse to hate this character come from? I don't understand it. I feel like it's always these people who have problems with their dads. That's always what it seems like. Like, when you keep talking to these people and digging down into it, you realize, like, almost every time they're like, yeah, my dad was like this, and so I hate it. And it's like, okay, then, like, that's what you're mad at. You're not mad at this guy.
I know there's some people that like to argue that their household was always chaotic, but there's really no evidence to show that.
We don't see their household. I mean, actually, there is a little bit of evidence, which is that Octavia does seem to think that things went wrong at this point. But if Stella, being as much of a bitch as she's shown to be to Stolas, had restraint when it came to being around Octavia before he cheated on her, then why would Stolas believe that she wouldn't have restraint afterwards? You know what I'm saying? If she was that much of an open cunt to him before he cheated on her, and Octavia was totally oblivious, then why wouldn't Stolas think that she wouldn't stay oblivious after he cheated on her? So yeah, that's where this falls apart. There might not be evidence to show that Stella was, like, this openly, chaotically aggressive toward him. But that's still no reason to blame him for how things turned out. It was Stella's decision to act this way. This is another thing that people get wrong about this dynamic. They assume that cheating is like the worst thing you can do to anybody, no matter what. And it's not. It's very situational, it's very contextual, it's very cultural. I mean, I do like the line in Sinsmith where that sinner woman said, and he probably cheated on me. And Blitz goes, well, that's not really that big of a deal these days anymore, is it? I do kind of like that. And it is contextually, he's kind of justifying what Stolas did there, but it's also just like, where is the anger coming from? Like, why so much anger about someone cheating on you? I just don't get it. Culturally, it's a weird thing. People are so fucking uppity about this shit. I don't understand it. Like, getting cheated on just doesn't seem like a big deal to me at all. So when people then don't feel like they have to justify this opinion anymore, they're like, oh, he cheated on her, therefore she's totally right to be this, you know, in front of their daughter. No. This is her decision to behave like an immature jackass. Don't blame Stolas for it just because his actions happen to bring out the already horrible person that she is. As if he knew that would happen.
The only real scenes we get of Stolas and Stella interacting before Stolas cheated was in the episode The Circus. And while Stella is rude to Stolas in those scenes, there's nothing really showing that their problems seep over into their kid. But in
Yeah, and then she decides to make those problems seep over into their kid. You see the problem? He didn't do anything. He cheated on her because she deserved it. And then she decided to make that her kid's problem.
In the episode Lululand, we get full dialogue saying that Stolas ruined their household.
I just want to go home. But home doesn't even feel like home anymore. You ruined it.
Which is why I don't really understand the people that defend Stolas when it comes to him cheating. Because yes, it's clear that Stolas and Stella never actually loved each other. They were just together for political reasons and to have a kid. But
Yeah, so what's wrong with him cheating on her then?
after they had Octavia, Stolas could have just gotten a divorce. Because that's literally what ends up happening anyway.
Oh my god. So we're ignoring the setup that happened in the circus where his dad tells him that he's betrothed and he says this is non-negotiable, you have no way out of it. And then we're shown how he grows up kind of just thinking he has no choice in his life. Like, you have to really ignore all of the clues and the psychology behind how they're setting up this character. And you're having to ignore the lyrics in the song where he's talking about how... let me look up, actually, the lyrics in that song, Stolas Sings. Because he talks about how he met Blitz and it gave him a sense of freedom. Yeah, then you walked in my room and like sparks in the dark, life was suddenly thrilling and new. Like all of these clues that the show gives you, that what we're dealing with here is somebody who never felt like he had any choice in his life. And then suddenly Blitz walks in and he feels like he has choice. He feels like he can actually do something that he wants to do, finally. So what you're doing here is victim blaming. You're saying, oh, well, he should have just gotten the divorce. It's like, no, he's a victim of his circumstances. And what she tells him at the end of the circus, she says, you know, she tries to threaten him with Andrealphus. He said, what will your family think of you? What will Andrealphus think of you? And then he finally has the courage to tell her, I don't care what your arrogant brother thinks. This is just an ignorant reading of the show. This is just you not paying attention or just not having any sympathy for the character whose motivations are very clearly established.
Way.
What the f*** was
His psychology
that?
is very clearly
That
indicated.
was the sound of a f***ing divorce!
And I remember seeing people say way back in season 1 that Stolas shouldn't divorce Stella because that traumatizes a kid. Do you know what else traumatizes a kid? Having them grow up in a household where they have to watch their parents.
Where they have to watch one parent scream at the other. Guess who's the one doing the screaming? It ain't Stolas. Like, again, with the victim blaming, like you're talking about something that isn't his fault.
Parents fight every single day. And on top of Stolas causing the chaotic environment that his daughter now has to live in, he also neglects his daughter. I talked about this in my Hell of a Boss is Frustrating video, but after he cheats on his wife, he takes his daughter to Lululand to, I guess, cheer her up even though she never wanted to go. And no, he doesn't just take his daughter like a normal dad, he also invites the person that he's cheating on his wife with and flirts with him the entire time.
This is a very funny, this is a good frame. This is a very funny conceit for an episode. It's very fucked up for Stolas to do this. It shows a little bit of his wicked side, that he's just so in love in this moment that he doesn't see how absurdly tone deaf and out of touch it is to invite the guy he's having an affair with on this little outing with his daughter that's supposed to be for her. But he, in the end, he kind of understands that. He understands the mistake he made when she, does her best to explain it to him. being like, and when I was a kid, there wasn't my dad wasn't flirting with some weird red dickhead all the time. He kind of realizes, okay, yeah, that was a little fucked up for me to do. So, I mean, yeah, the show addresses this. The show knows that this was bad behavior. So, I don't understand why you would hate the character when it's like this is just him having a very comedic moment of being kind of a bad dad for this one day. Doesn't necessarily mean this is the shit that he pulls every single day, like he's learned nothing his whole life. This is just one day where he got kind of carried away.
Time in front of his daughter.
What? Why, hello, my big blitz. What?
Like, is Lululand one of the better episodes in the series? Absolutely, but I don't understand how some people look at this episode as a positive Stolas episode. Especially when I feel like the lesson Stolas should have learned at the end of the episode is not to neglect his daughter, which we know is something that he didn't learn because the very next episode centered around him and his daughter is about him neglecting his daughter so much to the point that she runs away.
But it's not really. He doesn't neglect her so much to the point that she runs away. He is having a conversation over the phone about moving his wife's stuff out of the house. And he tells her to like wait until he's done with the phone call before saying the thing that she wants to say to him. That is not showing a pattern of parental neglect. That is one moment where he's like, can we handle this a bit later? I'm busy. And then she throws a big fit and runs away, and then he has to go chase after her. This is more of an episode showing Octavia being just kind of an impulsive kid and being kind of childish than it is really showing. I mean, yeah, like Stolas, could he be better in this situation? Of course he can. But it's more showing how there's a miscommunication where he's maybe doing his best, but his best isn't quite enough, and he should be more communicative in order to, deal with these issues appropriately. And we're shown that Stolas does have a problem with communication. He's not very good at it. And I think he gets a little bit better at it in season 2, just as Blitz does. I think season 2, the latter half of season 2 shows them kind of learning through their relationship how to be better people. Kind of because it's the first time in their lives they've really had to, and they've really had a good opportunity to, I think.
Your dad's really worried about you.
Right, that's why you're here instead of him. He couldn't be bothered to keep his promise, and now he can't be bothered to come and get me himself. He'd rather spend his time just screaming at my mum. Why does he hate her more than he loves me?
Which I hate how that episode wraps up because there's like no moment of Stolas actually learning a lesson. The episode just kind of pushes this message of, oh, well, he showed up and that means that he cares, so everything's all good. Which,
I mean, if your daughter runs away from home stealing your value, like his book is his what is it called, a grimoire? His grimoire is sort of like a car, it's very expensive, very important. You can't lose it. So imagine this. Imagine you're a dad who is in the middle of a divorce and things are really rough and you're having a catty phone call with your wife or your wife's lawyer, and your daughter tries to talk to you about something and you're like, yeah, in a minute, just give me some time. And then she steals your fucking car and goes somewhere where you can't find her. Like, are you really the person who needs to learn the lesson in that situation? Or do you think maybe it was the daughter who was a bit of an immature dickhead in that situation where it's like, oh, my dad ignored me for like 2 seconds, so I'm gonna steal his car and go to another town where he can't find me. And then he went through all the effort to go look for her, and when he meets up with her in the end, he's not even mad. That's a good dad. I'm sorry, but the way people try to spin this as somehow Stolas is a bad dad for this episode, fuck off. Like, fuck right off with that. Now, at the same time, I can understand things from Octavia's perspective. She's just a kid. She doesn't know everything. And things are hard for her, especially because she's not good at communicating either. But that's the struggle. You don't have to blame Stolas for this. It's not like all of Octavia's problems are because Stolas is a bad person. Sometimes people just have issues with each other.
In reality, we all know that just showing up doesn't mean that you're actually a good parent, especially when you're neglecting your daughter for problems that you...
Let's see, Claudia says, it's a breach of trust. I can understand the frustration. If you have an expectation for someone, as in that way, yeah, it's going to be a shitty reaction, but it's nuanced as always.
caused. But I can say this lack of learning was the only real bit of good storytelling that Helluva Boss gave, because I was so happy at the scene where Octavia pushed Stolas away. And I remember when this episode first came out, there were some people confused at the idea of why his daughter would do this, but genuinely, really think about it. Stolas rushing in to save Blitz was the good thing to do because he did ultimately give Blitz to the Grimoire, but at no point did Stolas try to explain with reason. Did he try to push blame on someone else? He was just prepared to take the fall for everything. He was...
I mean, yeah, he was doing the noble thing. He was taking the fall. I mean, this is what doesn't make sense. If Octavia is mad because she loves him, then why is she trying to push him away when he wants to apologize and explain things to her? If she loves him more than she loves her mom, and therefore she's upset at him for throwing his life away, because that means she can't be with him, then why does she want to get rid of him as soon as he tries to get her again? This is why I don't like Octavia's motivations in Sinsmas. It just bothers me. I wish that, honestly, for the sake of Octavia, I almost wish that they would have just made Stolas a worse father. Because as it is, Stolas is not a horrible father. And Octavia is treating him like he is, which just feels very unfair.
Was even going to let himself be executed, and at no point before any of that did he think about his daughter. It was only after he was told that he was going to be banished to live amongst the citizens of hell did he actually think, oh man, I have a daughter, what about my daughter? And that's the problem. This is why this guy is a...
Like, maybe if he didn't try to contact her, if he didn't try to apologize to her, if he didn't go out of his way to approach Andrealphus and fight him even though he didn't have his powers anymore, if he just gave up, I would understand Octavia's reaction. Like, okay, fuck this guy. But he really showed that he was willing to go the full mile for her. And so her rejecting him just feels like her very weird decision.
A terrible father. His daughter is always a second thought in his head. Like, it genuinely would have been terrible writing if Octavia would have somehow embraced Stolas again for the third time for being a neglectful, terrible father. But outside of him being a bad dad, another aspect of Stolas' character that was just terrible to watch throughout the course of season 2 is...
A neglectful, terrible father wouldn't have gone out of his way to try to connect with her, wouldn't have had guilt. Like, you gotta realize Stolas in that episode, one of the best parts of that episode's writing is that he feels guilty about his decision to save the life of the one he loves the most, of Blitz. He feels like he shouldn't have done that. He actually regrets it at one point. And he says, I threw my life away for these ridiculous fantasies. Like, at one point, he's willing to admit that he made a mistake in that. Now, at the end of the episode, he decides, you know what? I did make the right choice. But that shows how much of a bind he was in. You know, that was not an easy decision. And for Octavia to not give him any kind of consideration in that just shows, like, who's the bad guy in this situation? The person who had to make a really tough choice that ended up with everyone being alive? Or the person who would have rather had someone die, just so that, you know, just so that he wouldn't, like, lose custody over her when she's 17? She's fucking 17. She acts like she's, like 6 years old. And she's gonna be without him for the rest of her childhood. Like, just wait a few months, you weirdo.
It's how the writers just made him a gigantic hypocrite. I don't know why, but when season 2 came around, they dived headfirst into this Stolas and Blitz relationship, which, I mean, I guess is cool. I don't think it should have been the main focus of the show, but I think we could have got some interesting episodes out of it.
The Stolas and Blitz relationship is the best aspect of this show. It's the best plot thread. It's so fascinating. It's the most well written. There's the most depth to it. There's the most subtlety to it. It goes through the whole series. It starts at Mission 0, the new pilot. And it really reaches its kind of culmination in the last episode of season 2, I think. And I'm curious to see where the show is going in season 3, because Vivian says season 3 is her favorite that she's written. So I feel like we've wrapped up the Stolitz story to a satisfying degree. So I'm curious to see why she thinks this one will be the best. But yeah, are you kidding me? Like, this is like the best love story ever. Blitz and Stolas. It's so chaotic. It's so fascinating. It's so unexpected.
But when the episodes The Full Moon and Apology Tour dropped, oh my, bro, it was like I was watching a complete story assassination. Because if you listen to what Stolas was saying throughout the course of these 2 episodes, you would have swore you were watching an entirely different show. For some reason, Stolas was portrayed as in the right and as a victim to Blitz in these 2 episodes, which could have been done correctly because Blitz isn't the best person in this show. So it could have been very believable to the audience, but the way they chose to go about it is to just ignore all previous character dynamics that the 2 had before these 2 episodes. And by
I think that's a little bit unfair to the show to say that the show was portraying Stolas as just the victim in these 2 episodes, and that he's right. I would say that the content of the show makes it clear that Stolas is more right than Blitz in this interaction, that he is the one being more wronged in this interaction. But you know, like, look at the way that Stolas reacted to Blitz's outburst in Full Moon. Now, it was understandable that he would react that way because that was a horrible outburst that he did not deserve. But him just giving up at that moment and being slightly passive aggressive in his sadness wasn't the right choice. Especially because Blitz was just about to apologize to him before he disapparated him. So yeah, I wouldn't say that. I would say that it portrays the situation complexly. We're still supposed to think of Blitz sympathetically. After all, he is the protagonist of both of these episodes. Stolas is not the protagonist of Full Moon or Apology Tour. It's Blitz. we're seeing things from his perspective. And, you know, he has a perspective that, while I think it's very clear that his perspective is very wrong and filled with a lot of psychological disturbance that uh, disrupts his ability to really think of the situation fairly. A lot of trauma. I still think that he has a good point every now and then. As per usual, with a lot of these videos, I think people want it to be very one-sided. For some reason. I don't know why people think that's more interesting writing, because to me, I think it's way more interesting if you see both sides of the story.
Doing this, Stolas comes off as the biggest hypocrite and liar that I have ever seen in my entire life. The biggest moment that I could just never wrap my mind around is that they actually had Stolas say that he never looked down on Blitz, when literally all we have to do is go back a couple episodes and we have countless footage.
Get off to get plowed by people you look down on.
I don't look down on you.
Curious
How many
to see his
times
proof here.
When have I ever? Sound fair, my little imp?
Okay, so he gives him a, like, an affectionate little name. My little imp. You know, he's being affectionate. That means he's looking down on him. Okay. Okay, weird.
You are so cute when you are serious.
The audio cut out there, but he said, "You are so cute when you are serious." Again, him being affectionate. That's him looking down on him.
Threat, my impish little plaything.
And you know,
Again, him being affectionate. Now, look, all of these comments can be taken the wrong way. And we're supposed to see in this show that one of the interesting things about their dynamic is that Blitz does take them the wrong way a lot of the time. He does find it kind of annoying to be kind of made into this cute little thing that Stolas can, you know, treat in this way. But really, it's not meant with any kind of insult on Stolas' side of things. So if you want to portray it as Stolas looking down on him, you're not actually being honest here. You're not looking at the full picture. You're only looking at Blitz's side of the story, which is biased, you know? Hate, very strong word.
you would think with Blitz being on the receiving end of all this and knowing firsthand that the stuff coming out of Stolas' mouth just isn't true, you would think he would push a little bit harder, give more pushback, and emphasize that Stolas is being a massive hypocrite. But no, he just doesn't do.
Massive hypocrite, no. He sees things a different way. You can see things a different way. Doesn't make you a hypocrite. It just means you have a different perspective.
That for some reason the narrative in these two episodes just allows Stolas to be a massive liar that doesn't get corrected, and I've genuinely seen people.
And now he's a massive liar. So first he's a massive hypocrite, then he's a massive liar. Notice how the rhetoric just keeps exaggerating itself to the point where now you can say, I hate Stolas. Meanwhile, you haven't given any really good reason to hate Stolas. You've only misinterpreted things in the show and then exaggerated your own conclusions.
People trying to defend these two episodes saying things like, well, Stolas' character is a hypocrite, but this was the writer's way of showing that. But that makes absolutely no sense because that's not how writing works. Like if I write a story and there's a good guy and a bad guy, in order for the audience to know which is which, I have to distinguish them. So I have to show the good guy being the good guy and the bad guy being the bad guy.
So that's what this is? What are you, fucking two? There's good guys and bad guys now? That's what storytelling is? Like, What a fucking idiot, man. Okay. Well, we're 2 minutes to the end of this video, so I think we can give this video a thumbs down. We've shown that it sucks. It sucks. It sucks. Next video. Good guy, bad guy, ooga booga. So dumb. If one character's a good guy, you have to show that he's the good guy. If another character's the bad guy, you have to show that he's... How about neither of them are good guys or bad guys? They're guys. Like, that's one of the great things about the show, man. I don't know. I have an idea about why some of these people don't like Hell of a Boss or Stolas. I'm wondering if it's because they're people who watch cartoons a lot. And so they're like, oh, it's a cartoon. I'll enjoy this. And then they watch it and it's like, oh, it's complex and I don't understand it. And so, I hate it. Yeah, I'm drinking a stout porter. It's delicious. It's old Rasputin. It's, tastes like Guinness, but a lot better. Mm-hmm. I like a really strong flavored drink. I think that's why I like alcoholic drinks so much. Because they have a really intense flavor. Like, I drink coffee a lot, and I really pack in the coffee. Like, I put scoop upon scoop, and if I don't want as much caffeine, I'll put in scoops of decaf into it to give me that flavor. I like strong coffee. So if I'm gonna drink a beer, I want it to be a strong flavored beer. Let me look for another video. The moment I gave up on Hell of a Boss. That could be one. There's a lot of videos I have by this guy, Corin15. There's a few of them. Then there's also videos by a guy named Daniel Goldhorn. I think I'll watch one by Daniel Goldhorn. Now, I don't know if Daniel Goldhorn is a hater or if he's just a little critical. But he has a lot of videos. So the full season of Has Been Hotel is frustrating and Hell of a Boss is frustrating. So let's watch his first Has Been Hotel is frustrating video. I think you're getting at something. They don't know how to reckon with nuance and complexity. Used to simpler story. Yeah, like, I feel like these are Invader Zim fans. You know? These are Fairly Odd Parents viewers. This is the kind of crowd I feel like who makes these sorts of videos. Like, this is how they engage with storytelling. Like, they have a very childish perspective.
Has Been Hotel has finished on Amazon Prime, and I didn't really like it. Now, before you send me down to hell myself, I want to clarify that I don't hate this show. It has a lot of good parts to it. I'd even say some really good parts. If anything, it makes me frustrated because it's just good enough for me to care about it. But, oh, is it messy. In case you're not aware, Has-Been Hotel is created by Vivian Medrano, the famously
I would say the one issue I have with Has-Been Hotel is that I think sometimes the plotting is a little bit sloppy. Now, people tend to talk about plot holes in the show. That is an issue. Every now and then there's a pretty glaring plot hole. But, you know, everything has plot holes from time to time. But I think they also kind of have an issue with communication. Because especially in this last season, there was a lot of stuff with Alistair. It was a really complicated thing going on with Alistair. Let me just lay out to you how complex this was. So it's revealed that Rosie owns his soul, and Rosie is the one telling him to support the Has-Been Hotel, and we don't know why, but Rosie wants him to do this until he has accomplished some mission that she has set for him, but then in exchange, he is supposed to be the most powerful sinner in hell. And so at the end of the series, he breaks free by becoming no longer the most powerful sinner in hell. In Charlie's opinion, fakely, because Charlie then is coerced into doing that by the deal that he put with her in this first season, and then that makes it manifest in real life by boosting Vox's ratings so that he actually does become the most powerful sinner in hell, thus breaking Rosie's deal. But it wasn't made clear that they can actually break the deal that way, especially because Rosie was talking to him like it didn't seem to matter. But then another wrinkle in that whole thing is that his staff was broken by Adam in season 1, and now without his staff in full form, he can't really use his powers the way he was able to before. And so you would think, well, does that mean that Vox is already more powerful than he? But no, apparently he was just faking it in order to make that deal with Vox, in order to get captured by pretending to not be as powerful as Vox. And then at the end, he makes a final deal with Rosie to fix his staff in exchange for helping with the big Hear My Hope deal at the end. All of that was supposed to be communicated in season 2. I don't think they did a great job at communicating that. It's very convoluted. And it's not that you can't pull this off, but I think there was just one too many elements. I don't think the staff thing needed to be there at all, because the staff thing didn't actually end up mattering at all to the story. He could have just repaired his own staff and it would have been fine. It didn't actually make a difference. So you could have removed that whole element of it, and it wouldn't have made a difference. So there were things you could do that could have cleaned that up a lot to make it a lot more easy to understand, to communicate it a lot better. And that's kind of one issue I think that the show has, is sometimes it just is a little bit messy with how it goes about it. Wow, what a complex and hard to follow spiderweb of motivations and incongruities with Alistair there. Yeah, it is very just weird. You have to go this. You have to do all that to really follow what's supposed to be happening with that story.
Professional and uncontroversial creator who's managed to build a massive following from her work online. The pilot for Has-Been Hotel debuted in 2019 after years of production. I remember seeing clips and rough animations of it circulating on Tumblr as far back as 2017, and I wasn't even actively following it. And it's proved to be a hit. Both Has-Been Hotel and its spin-off Hell of a Boss have become, dare I say, the indie animation productions on YouTube. They may not have been the first, but their success stories are perhaps the most prominent. It's an underdog story, which makes me feel bad to say that I've always felt mixed about Spindle Horse Tune's output. I've even got an in-progress script about Hell of a Boss that I'm going to finish when they complete the season.
Hey. I like that he uses Google Docs, because I like doing that too, because I can edit no matter where I am on my phone. It's just there. Boom.
But I digress. Hazbin Hotel, pilot in 2019, and got picked up for full production by not one, but 2 studios, one of them being A24. Now this did get me excited. A24 generally likes to make good things.
I was very surprised when A24 were the ones who picked up Hazbin Hotel, because I knew them from horror movies and art movies. But, you know, they also did Everything Everywhere All at Once. They have a diverse catalog of stuff. But their stuff is... What I like about it is that it's all very auteur-driven. And they very much seem to care about making something interesting. They're like, oh, this guy has an interesting idea that he's passionate about, so let's go with that. And that seems to be what they did with this.
Always love to see a new release from them. The other studio is Bento Box, which... Wait, I recognize them. A decade ago, they produced one of my favorite YouTube channels ever, Glove and Boots. Huh, I wonder what else they've been doing lately. Oh, they made Bob's Burgers. I've heard that's good. And they also made...
Radio Static is a fun ship. Vox and Alistair. And I like the way it was developed in season 2, because I always suspected that Vox was secretly in love with Alistair. And that he kind of... he hated Alistair so much because his desire to unite with Alistair was motivated by more than just strategy. It was motivated out of like a deep personal admiration. And that was confirmed in season 2, which I thought was really cool that they went in that direction, because that was the direction I wanted it to go in.
So, what happens when a studio known for making unique ideas into award-winning films collaborates with a studio known for making... Well, you get Hazbin Hotel this series. And here's the thing, I'll start with a positive. I like the idea of the show. Lucifer's daughter Charlie, Princess of Hell, believes that she can reform sinners into good people and enable them to get into heaven. I like the idea of damned souls getting one more chance for redemption.
It is a great idea because it gives the show so much heart. Like, Charlie is such a great emotional core for this show to revolve around. It makes it feel like a show that you can watch even if you're turned off by Hell of a Boss with its kind of crass cynicism. Like, even if you're not into that, you can still like this one.
It's a very humanistic concept, and I really appreciate when the show is about this, except it gets shunted aside almost immediately. Right from the very opening of the first episode, we learn about the lore of the universe, how Lucifer and Lilith shared the apple of knowledge, and evil was born and hell was made, so on and so forth.
And as the numbers of hell grew, so did its power. Threatened by this, heaven made a truly heartless decision. That every year they would send down an army, an extermination, to ensure hell and its sinners could never rise against them.
Oh, so really this is about control and fear. Charlie obviously knows this because she's reading the book of the show to us, so she'll take that into account when she makes her pitch to heaven.
Our shared problem of overpopulation in hell.
Okay, she doesn't know things she should obviously know. Not a great way to start the series. And this line actually ruins more of the show than you think, but I'll get back to that.
The prologue is a little bit weirdly written because it does kind of reveal more, I think, than Charlie should know. Even though she's canonically the one reading that Book of Hell to herself as the extermination is happening. She says in that prologue that heaven made a heartless decision by choosing to cull the population in order to prevent any uprisings from happening. Now, you could say that, well, perhaps they're just worried that with too many demons, you know, you could imagine that they would want some living space. They would want to conquer heaven. And so she kind of frames it as overpopulation in order to make common ground with the angels when she's making her proposal. I think that's in keeping with Charlie's character. She is the kind of person who, with the exception of her dad, always chooses to see the best in people and to make common ground with people wherever she can. Even people who she knows are fucked up. Like even Valentino. She tries to be like, all right, Valentino, I'm sure we can get along. We just need to, get to know each other a bit. Like that's the kind of person she is. So I don't think it's necessarily a plot hole that this is her tact for approaching Adam. It is, however, not communicated all that well in this episode. I will give you that. Because it does seem to contradict knowledge that she has from reading the Book of Hell.
For now, let's just focus on this debut episode of the show, which is kinda bad. Even people who like the series seem to agree that
she shouldn't know that info. Well, it's fine for her to know the info. I just think it should be communicated a little bit more why she's sort of dressing it up in more amenable language. Oh, hell has an overpopulation problem, and that's why we're killing people. Well, with this, solution, we can benefit the both of us. Maybe that could have been communicated a little bit more clearly, is what I'm saying. But I don't think it was I don't think it's really a problem with the show in that it impacts the viewing necessarily. I just think it's a nitpick. This really is just a nitpick, I think.
that it's a poor first impression. And there's a few reasons for that. First of all, the series just assumes that you've seen the pilot, which exists on an entirely...
No, it doesn't. I mean, I was actually impressed, and actually Doug Walker had the same thought that I did, which is that it's interesting how the show does a great job at reestablishing things for people who haven't seen the pilot. Like, I actually think that Overture is the best episode to introduce someone to this franchise. Because not only is it a fantastic episode, it actually, it catches you up with the main points that you should know from the pilot. It's not like you're missing any crucial information here.
Different platform. Honestly, if you're watching this series and this video, you probably did see the pilot. But there must be some...
Actually, I only saw the first half of the pilot before I watched Overture. I thought I had seen the whole thing. But no, then I rewatched it, and I only watched, half of it. Oh, you know what? That's not true, because I did go back and watch the full pilot before the show came out, because I actually was kind of excited for the show, especially after I watched the pilot of Digital Circus. I was like, well, I'll give Hazbin Hotel another chance. I'll see if it's as bad as I thought it was. And then once I got past the first bit with Katie Killjoy, and I listened to her song, and I saw the stuff with Alistair, I was like, oh, actually, this episode isn't quite as bad as I thought it was. It was just that first, that first 10 minutes or so that was just really awful. Really cringeworthy. I think I only watched the beginning of it and the rest after. Yeah. Yeah, actually, I love Edward Bosco as Alistair. He has this depth to his voice. It really makes me wish that they might have gotten someone other than Amir Talai. Not to hate on Amir, because I really like him as a person. I love Amir Talai. And he has a magnetism of his own. So not to hate on that guy at all. But man, when you listen to Edward Bosco's voice in the pilot, dude, there's just this thing about it. There's this huskiness, this smoothness. It's like a totally different thing. It's like electrifying. And I didn't expect, because I knew that he had a radio voice. I knew that was the conceit of the character, but I didn't expect it to be as electrifying as it was when I actually saw it in motion.
Some people who first hear about the series from the Amazon ads and then jump in, I can't help but wonder if they'd be a bit lost. Anyways, the first episode splits its time between Charlie doing the important legwork and the rest of the gang who are trying to cut together a new commercial for the hotel. And it's not as interesting as it sounds. I really wish we could have had something a little more interesting for everyone to do in the first episode. Honestly,
I like how mundane this first episode was in the hotel scenes. I like how it was just showing them chilling, and they were trying to do, it was like a cartoon plot. And I thought that was something that people missed about the season one. I thought like a big criticism of it was they wanted it to feel more like a cartoon where you just have characters living their lives and you see the antics that happen. And that was kind of what this first episode was. And it was fun. I loved the whole gag with Nifty freezing up in front of the camera. It was fun seeing Angel just be an annoying dickhead and Husk being frustrated and Baggy trying to make something work even though she's clearly not the one for this job, and Alistair just teasing her. I mean, there was just a lot of fun stuff in that. Like, it was a great way to just show the group dynamics. That was kind of the whole point of this episode, I think, was you have Charlie going out on her own, setting up the whole plot with the Angels. And then on the side, you set up who these people are, so you know how they interact with each other.
Thinking about it, I don't even know where the screen time goes in this episode. So little happens in it. And then you have the songs. And hell of a
little happens in it? Charlie goes to a meeting with the leader of the Angel Army, and he ends up revealing that the extermination, he not only rejects her whole proposal, he reveals that he and Lute don't give a flying fuck about her or demons, and that in fact they're adding insult to injury by deciding to move up the next extermination to 6 months. And they make a commercial. They try and fail to make a commercial, and then Alistair comes in at the last minute after making a deal with Becky. Like, that's a lot going on in that episode. I don't know why he says that nothing happened.
Boss is known for its musical numbers, which are often impressive. But in this show, well, it's a mixed bag.
What could they want?
Are you fucking kidding me? Are you actually fucking kidding me? You think the musical numbers in Hell of a Boss are better? When was this made? This was made... because I think this video was made before. Yeah. This video was made before the best musical numbers in Hell of a Boss even came out. This was right around when Hazbin Hotel Season 1 came out. Hell of a Boss, the best musical number they had by that point was The House of Asmodeus, which was fantastic. They had Moxie's Bad Trip, which was pretty good. But most of the musical numbers in Hell of a Boss were sidelined. It was stuff like Vacate a Bone Town, which is a neat sounding song, but it's just in the background a lot of the time. It doesn't get focus. I mean, Cotton Candy was great. But then you had like, God, what else even was there? There was Stola Sings, which is tiny. You Will Be Okay, which a lot of people love that one. I'm kind of iffy on it. Like, you compare that stuff to season 1 of Hazbin Hotel and you're saying that Hazbin Hotel is mid? Are you out of your fucking mind? Especially with Overture, which has 2 of the best songs in that season. I mean, Happy Day in Hell and Hell is Forever are both bangers, dude. They're so good. Yeah, this guy's off his mind.
This soon after
I can do this. Somehow I know it. Today is gonna be a fucking happy day.
Yeah, Has-Been's musical numbers are fantastic. They are. I mean, they're amazing. And they've even, like, honestly, the animation on them has gotten better in season 2. But, like, I think the songs are, like, just as good in season 1 as in season 2. Like, they're keeping a standard of quality. And there's more of them in season 2. Like, they keep getting more ambitious, which I love.
I just have to say, I know a lot of people aren't happy about the if blank show or movie was written by Vivziepop meme, but I mean, if the shoe fits.
Do you know who I am? I'm fucking Adam. I'm the original Dick. All dicks descend.
I mean, yeah, it does fit. It is a funny meme. I don't have a problem with the meme. It's a meme. Like, you're not supposed to be offended by a meme. Like, I'm sure Vivziepop doesn't even hate the meme. I'm sure that's not the reason she threatens to quit Twitter over and over. I'm sure it's the other stuff that comes with the hate.
And from me, you think you want drummer dick? No way. I'm the dick fucking master.
It's accurate, though. There is a lot more swearing in her work than in other adult cartoons. But I think a lot of that is because she's allowed to do it this way, because it's a different time period. You know, the 2020s are not exactly like the 1990s. You can get away with more because you have more options, because this is a web show. That's the funny thing. People don't really think of like streaming shows like Stranger Things as a web series, but they technically are. They're web series. They're made for the internet, and yeah, this is one of in a web show you can get away with a lot more than you can on a cable TV show or you know, cable TV shows you can get away with if you're talking like the stations that run on a subscription only model. But like on a network TV show, you can't get away with something like Hazbin Hotel. But you know, it's the changing culture. You're allowed to get away with this. And this, I think, reflects the way people tend to talk in real life. Like, I'm a guy who lives in the real world and deals with real people in a blue-collar setting every day. And this is how people talk. People say fuck and shit and cunt and damn, like, all day long. And I do it, too. So it's not like this is unrealistic. This is just the style that the show is going for, that in a way feels more realistic than what we normally see in a lot of shows.
So, anyway, and we fucked, and it was awesome.
To be fair, outside of this episode, the language isn't nearly as obnoxious. It's just this one. Along with such a weird use of screen time, characters not knowing things that they should know, it just makes for a very weak start to the series.
I mean,
who even wrote this episode?
One character sort of framing something in a way that sort of feigns ignorance in order to get them on her side. I wouldn't say that is characters not knowing things they should know. Now, when it gets to episode 7, and Vaggie has to ask Carmilla Carmine how to kill an angel, even though she had her wings, well, not her wings, she had her eye like cut out permanently by an angelic spear. That's a little iffy. She should have at least thought of that. Been like, hey, maybe if we use their own weapons against them.
Oh. Vivziepop wrote the first episode entirely herself. And it's her only solo writing credits in this series. This one. The one everyone agrees is the worst one.
The one everyone agrees is the worst one? No. No, the worst one in that season was episode 7. Now, Ready for This is a great song, but kind of everything else in that episode was boring, I think. It was just kind of like the lead up to the final episode. And honestly, the final episode wasn't even that good. I thought the final of season 2 was way better.
Has Been Hotel if it was written by Vivziepop. Okay, for real. I'm going to move on now. And actually, let me pull aside to talk about some ways I'm not going to criticize this series. No, it's not bad because they use lots of bad words. Uncut Gems has the 4th highest rate of fucks.
Yeah, like a movie like Uncut Gems takes place in New York. This is how New Yorkers talk. Like, why can't we have a cartoon like that? This is what I don't get about this criticism. I hear it a lot. Not necessarily saying that this guy is making this criticism, but yeah.
Per minute out of any movie, and I consider that film a masterpiece. Also, yes, it is really funny how obviously Viv's been inspired by the Onceler fandom.
The dialogue actually sounds like natural/IRL normal people speak, and yes, people are very brusque in everyday speech. Yeah. And yes, Vivzi's style does have a lot of Onceler overtones.
And the human Bill Cipher.
Actually, that's one thing I don't care for so much about Alistair's design, because I think Alistair does have a cool design overall, but I think it's way cooler when he looks more freaky and demonic. But there are some times in the show where he looks a little bit too Onceler-ish. Like, he looks a little bit too cute. And it's like, nah, that's not him. He should look like a freaky weirdo. Like, that to me is what he should look like. But, you know. Like, in this frame, he looks cool. I like the way he looks here. Because this is him with, like, a crazy grin, looking like a madman. That's how I like to see him.
For art of mid-2010s Tumblr. But I'm not really interested in trying to break down the character designs and quote-unquote proving whether they are good or bad. If you wanted to hate Has Been Hotel, oh, there's plenty to get mad at. If you wanted to endlessly tweet about it being problematic, there's plenty of ammunition to use for the discourse. A lot of people have already taken it up as their full-time job.
Oh, and that's another thing I kind of like about this show, is that it's a little bit edgy. You know, it's not a social justice warrior show, but it's also really gay, which is cool. I like the fact that it's a gay show that's willing to be a little bit vulgar, a little bit like, we're gonna make light of abuse at times. We're not gonna treat everything with the kind of reverence. I like that about it. It has a sense of humor about itself.
That's not what I want to do here. I'm not interested in addressing whether or not the show portrays things in a problematic way, and I don't even think it's my place to decide. I don't want to hate this show. I never want that to be my goal. I'm more interested in pointing out the ways the series doesn't fill out the full potential of its own elements. Those are the key words here. Missed potential. Most of my criticisms are things you can look at on the surface level and say, well, that's not necessarily a bad thing, and you'd be right, but it's the way that these parts are organized that make them less than their sum. Obviously, to have this discussion, I'm going to need to get into spoilers here, so fair warning, okay, here we go. Like I said, I love the core idea here. Charlie wants to redeem sinners so they can go to heaven and thus be saved from the yearly extermination. But because of what we hear and see in episode 1, the show ends up not really being about that. The conflict instead becomes about fighting against and stopping.
Let me just look at my level on my microphone. Yeah, I would say I could turn down the PC audio just a hair. Yeah. I'm very conscious of how my levels are, because I want my voice to be ever so slightly louder than what I'm watching. That's my goal.
Heaven's armies. That's what the last quarter of the season is exclusively focused on. That means the actual central conceit of the show, redeeming sinners, becomes only secondary. But the show seems to pretend this isn't even an issue.
Sinners are desperate. Maybe desperate enough to try anything to escape the extermination.
This is the perfect time to recruit more sinners for the hotel!
But you don't even know if they're going to be allowed into heaven. It goes unresolved for so long that even when the show tries to get back to redeeming sinners once in a while, I'm just thinking, well, heaven still isn't going to accept them.
I just don't understand why you're looking at the glass half empty here. This is one thing that I loved about this show. I love the fact that she's doing this whole thing and it's totally pointless. That, like, there's no way she's ever gonna succeed, and then she's like, you know what? I don't care what anyone says. I'm gonna figure out a way to do this. I want to make a video one day. I've been thinking about it a lot. Of Charlie Morningstar as a Sorelian hero, a la Georges Sorel. Because even though Sorel talked about the value of violence a lot, and Charlie is a very non-violent character, what Sorel was really after was sincerity of belief. He thought that when you believed in something enough that you were willing to commit violence for it, that was the source of strength for any idea. Charlie doesn't believe in violence, but she is the kind of person who believes in this enough that she is willing to put everything on the line, even committing violence if she has to, for this goal. And she is never totally discouraged to the point where she's willing to give up. She's always willing to see the potential. And one way I like to say it is she doesn't accept the world's terms. The whole world is telling her, nah, this ain't the way you do things in hell. This ain't the way the world works. And she's like, I don't give a fuck what you think about the way the world works. I'm telling you this is how the world should work, and so you should listen to me. And that's what makes her such a fascinating character, because she's naive as hell. She's not the smartest person. But the fact that she has this goal that is so wholesome and she believes in it this much to the point where she can't let anything get in her way, that's what makes you go, oh, this person is so interesting. I want to see this story. And the fact that this guy doesn't see that is frustrating to me. Like, this guy says Hazbin Hotel is frustrating. I think Daniel Goldhorn is frustrating. Because that, to me, is what makes Hazbin Hotel brilliant in its storytelling. Yeah, it really does tie... Like, this is what Sorel was talking about. He was talking about people like Charlie. This is when you really understand Sorel and what he was going for. And you learn about his how he was so inspired by Charlotte Péguy's Catholic awakening. And he believed that, the awakening of Charlotte Péguy and his essay on Joan of Arc was signaling a great religious awakening in the country. What he wanted was this. He wanted people to believe in something the way Charlie believes in redemption. That's what he wanted. And that's what's so cool about it. And you know what? You know why it is so Sorelian? Is that Charlie's belief that this can work is what manifests it, is what brings it about. Like, somehow she believed in it so hard. It's like in Peter Pan, where Peter Pan tells Tinkerbell is dying, and Peter Pan tells the audience, you have to clap. And you have to say, I do believe in fairies. You have to clap and say that. And that will bring Tinkerbell back to life. And of course it works. Because the audience does it. That's what's so cool about it.
That problem's not getting addressed here. And in episode 6, there's a whole trial in heaven that reasserts yes, this is the new conflict of the show. Episode 6 also crystallizes another issue I have with the storytelling here. So it turns out that the yearly exterminations are actually flicked down and makes it feel smaller than I had imagined, but maybe they're going to do something with it. After all, Adam is reminded,
What was the Seraphim's one rule? No one but the Exorcist can know about the exterminations. I know, fine.
this is a good setup. There's probably some really drastic consequences if this information gets out. And sure enough, at the trial, he blurts it out, even after being warned by the Seraphim a second time. Oh man, he's done it now. What's going to happen now that he's spilled this terrible secret in the middle of court? Well, Heaven's Charlie equivalent is pretty upset about it. And, yeah, this series has a big problem with setups and payoff.
This is a totally unfair criticism because we actually do see a payoff in season 2. They're actually freaking out about it. Like all the elders of heaven are like, "What the hell? What's going on?" And then you have the trial of Serpentius, and you have the Speaker of God, and that kind of smooths things over a little bit. And so, yeah, you're talking about stuff that doesn't happen until season 2 because we don't see what happens in heaven really after. We get, I think, one more scene in heaven, which is just Adam and Luke trying to rile up the exorcists before going to battle. That's it. So we don't really see what happens in heaven. So it's a little unfair to be like, well, we didn't get to see it. It's because they didn't show it yet. Because they had 2 more episodes. You know, maybe if the show had more episodes in a season, we would have seen it. And then another thing that bothers me is nobody brings up the plot hole that if Sarah was so concerned about keeping this a secret, why did she have Charlie come in and blather all about her desire to start a hotel that, you know, one of the main reasons she's doing it is to save lives from the exterminations. If this was supposed to be a big secret, why did she let Charlie do that in front of all the elders of heaven? Made no sense. Nobody noticed that plot hole. I'm the only person who has noticed that plot hole, but it's so in your face. It's funny how you have this kind of nitpicking where they pick on these things that don't really matter to the story, and then they ignore the kind of the stuff that actually kind of matters.
Something will be set up that seems like it should have a big payoff later, and it ends up being weak. Or a payoff will happen without a strong setup to establish it. Charlie is explicitly told that to win over a crowd of people, she has to convince a crabby old lady who proceeds to heckle her entire presentation. However, is Charlie going to persuade her? Oh, it doesn't matter anymore. She gets addressed with one line in.
So, what is with people in thinking that their first impression of a moment means that the show was like trying to set up something that it doesn't pay off? Like, maybe your first impression was just a little bit mistaken. That happens. That's a very common experience in watching a movie or a story. You might think, oh, maybe this is going one way and it doesn't go that way. But that's not a flaw in the writing. That just means that, like, they were going for a different effect. The effect that they were going for was that Susan is just, like, a funny character who no one likes. And is just a massive bitch, and she just riles up Charlie to the point where she, like, actually gets angry, which is really funny. Like, that was the payoff to that moment. This is what that guy doesn't understand. It had a setup and a payoff. The payoff was watching Charlie flip her off and say, "Fuck you, you old bitch." That was what was funny about that moment, what made that moment work. I would agree if that didn't happen, if they just kind of ignored that, then Susan would have no point, and it would kind of be like, why was she included? But they did pay it off. It was just a different payoff than he expected.
The next song, it wasn't actually that hard. She was just a one-time gag. Adam draws up a list of rules in court about what makes a person good, and it's presented like it's kind of funny and meaningless, but then later in the episode it's presented as an actual set of criteria, and the episode ends lingering on a shot of it, giving it more gravity. So
that was a little weird. I'm not gonna lie. That's the first time I've ever heard someone bring that up. it was a little bit weird how they put Adam on the spot. Charlie puts Adam on the spot. And everyone just sort of goes with it. And Adam's like, I guess I gotta scribble out some things that can get people into heaven. But it's clear that he doesn't know what gets people into heaven. And it's also clear that nobody knows. And if nobody knows, then like Sarah should at least know, but she doesn't know. But this is never really made into much of a conversation other than for Charlie to just say, wait a minute, you guys don't know what gets people into heaven. But then in the song, then Angel Dust does all his stuff, and Charlie basically uses that as leverage for her argument. She says, yeah, he did all the things that Adam wanted him to do. So why isn't he in heaven? And then in the song, what made it a little weird is that it begins with Emily holding up this paper and saying, "But she was right, Sarah. She showed us a soul can improve. He saw the light, Sarah. He checked all the boxes that you said would mean a person deserves a second chance. But we turn our back, so second glance." So she's implying that somehow these were Sarah's guidelines, but they weren't. They were Adam's, and she's holding up the paper. It was just kind of weirdly communicated in that way. So I would agree with this criticism. The emphasis that they put on this golden piece of paper was a little strange. Perhaps they shouldn't have made such a big deal out of this joke.
Was important after all? Vox presents this shiny new thing directly to the audience, a security system to answer the oncoming extermination. Oh hey, this seems relevant to the conflict at hand. Could perhaps be a rival solution to the hotel, throw a wrench into Charlie's outreach. But it's never brought up again. Guess it's also...
Well, it was a throwaway. Like, he came up with this in, like, literally just a second before doing this. Like, in the show, he's like, oh, I just found out that the extermination is happening again in 6 months. Let me, roll out a new security system. That'll be a way to make more money and get more influence. I mean, that was all it was. It was a gag.
So just a gag that just forgot to be funny? This results in a narrative.
It's not just about being funny. It sets up who Vox is. He's a businessman who looks for opportunities to make money. In the same way that Charlie is kind of the foil to that. She is a good person who is always looking like a businessman for those opportunities to persuade people to get on her side. So, and this then sets up, I think, what Vivian had planned for season 2, which we see in the whole dynamic with that first song, Has Been Guarantee / Trust Us, where we see those two personalities directly contrasted with each other. And there's that part at the end of the song where, it goes, "Come on in, here's your key, and see how great your afterlife could be." And both Charlie and Vox are singing that part to show, like, here's one path or another path you could take. And so I think Vivian had that in mind when writing that part, or when coming up with that idea for the Vox Tech angelic security. It was just setting up, and that was the whole thing in that second episode. It was just setting up this character, who he is, what kind of influence he has, what personality he has. He's a brand that's built on the idea of perfection.
Of experience, where it feels like things happen for very little reason, where the rules shift about suddenly. And sometimes the rules don't even exist.
Wait. None of you know what gets someone into heaven?
I thought that was an interesting concept that no one actually knew, and they didn't really question it. And it turns out it's a power higher than them that was deciding this the whole time. And they were just kind of accepting the rules. And accepting it at face value and not really thinking about it. It's an interesting exercise in critical thinking, I guess.
This questioning stops now.
Again, I know this is being done intentionally to make us question the authority of whatever divine judgment is being meted out off screen. Maybe we get to see it in the next season. But the flip side of this is that we now have no metric to measure Charlie's progress. The whole point...
And that's a problem with the show? I just think that makes the show better. That we're just, like, going uphill on, rubber-soled shoes in the hail with, in a waterfall. And, that's just what we're dealing with. We have no idea even where, we can't even see the finish line, but we're still going. I think that makes for a really compelling story.
Of the hotel.
And in fact, I'm almost a little disappointed that now it seems like heaven is on Charlie's side at the end of season 2. That I'm almost a little disappointed that we're losing that part of the show, because I thought that made the show so great. Now, that being said, I'm sure they'll come up with some great ideas for season 3, but I loved this one.
Hell is to redeem people to send them to heaven. And the simple question of, what do you need to get into heaven, is so crucial to this plan that we need an answer.
No, we don't need an answer. We only need to know that this character believes she can do it and nobody else believes in it. I mean, that's what this season is about. Nobody believes in her. Not even the sinners in hell believe in her. The angels in heaven don't. Like, nobody. Nobody believes. Not even Vaggie, honestly. Like, Vaggie says, as lip service, like, yeah, I think redemption is possible. But I don't think in her heart of hearts she actually believes it's going to happen. I think she's just doing it to support Charlie. So, like, that's what this season is about. It's not about there being a clear path forward. Like, what kind of story is that? That's not a story. The story is an underdog trying to work her way through things with no clear path forward. Like Lord of the Rings. Like, what makes that story so compelling is that you don't think it's possible for them to... Like, that part where Boromir is like, one does not simply walk into Mordor. Like, that was the whole point of them setting that up. Like, this is impossible, and yet they're still gonna do it anyway. Gone in 60 Seconds. They have to steal 50 cars in one night. You know? Or they have to steal 50 cars in 1 month or something, and they take the whole month to just plan it out, and they steal all the cars in one night, you know? Like, that's impossible, and they do it. That's good storytelling.
Even an answer as simple as, you get into heaven because we say so, would be something. Having it be a question mark makes this very critical mechanic of the world vague and confusing. It makes me not care about it. And
I mean, shouldn't it make you curious about it? Like, okay, nobody knows what gets people into heaven, and yet there somehow is a way where people get into heaven and they get into hell. Shouldn't that make you go, I wonder what that is? That's a mystery that the show is setting up. I mean, I feel like this is, this makes sense the way they plotted out this idea. I don't think this is bad storytelling at all.
And before anyone tries to bring up outside lore, if it's not in the text of the show, then it doesn't count. The vagueness extends to the setting and its rules. The show takes place in literal capital H hell. So obviously bad people are going to be doing bad things around here, but the gravity of those sins is treated weirdly. Cannibalism is just a little quirk in this neighborhood, but scamming people with the media is framed as a scummy thing to do. Shoving a ball of wire up someone's...
Well, yeah, it's all culturally dependent. Like, if you live in Cannibal Town, then it's normal to eat people, you know? I kind of like the context dependent aspect of the culture in Hell, and it exists in Hell of a Boss too. It's a cool aspect of these shows, the way and it's realistic, it's true to life. Like slavery in some areas of the world, in some times in history, is viewed as a normal part of life, and then in other times and places it's viewed as a horrible abomination that only the worst people could imagine actually wanting to do. But that's not like, people fail to understand that their moral judgments are so culturally context dependent. So one of the things that's so cool about the world building of this show, and I say that even though the Hellverse doesn't have the most coherent world building, but it has conceptually rich world building in that the moral concepts are really blurry in a way that feels real and feels fascinating.
Its booty hole is a gag in a song. See, they like it. But spiking someone's drink at the bar is a no-go. Valentino has Angel Dust literally chained in a contract, and he's portrayed as entirely unsympathetic and immoral. Alistair has Husker in a very similar, if not identical position, but he still gets to be a quirky, silly...
It is not an identical position. One guy's his butthole is for sale every single day. The other guy just has to be a bartender at a rehab. And the irony of that is funny, that in Hell, even the rehabs have a bar. Yeah, it's not the same at all. Come on. Like, I mean, you think you're a writer, Daniel Goldhorn, and you can't even fucking see the difference between these two scenarios? Come on.
Silly boy. The common denominator seems to be whether or not the person doing an action is on Team Has-Been Hotel. Put another way, rather than a character's morality being...
And that's fascinating. I like the fact that Charlie has to work with some pretty evil people in order to do something that she knows is right. And part of it is she sees the good in everyone. And so she's like, well, if you're willing to believe in me and my goodness, then I can see goodness in you and we can forgive each other. You know, that's so cool. That this is an element in the series, that there's this moral weirdness where you're having evil people fighting other evil people, but then those evil people, because they're on a certain side, are actually, you know, like Winston Churchill is a great example. Like, he was the good guy in World War II, but he himself was evil. Like, he had a lot in common with Hitler. But because he was fighting on the good side, you can make him into a sympathetic character. I mean, this is real stuff. It frustrates me that this kind of analysis is trying to strip away all the reality from a show like this and make it into even more of a shitty basic cartoon, you know, than it you know, is presenting itself as. I mean, it's presenting itself in a very cartoony style, but it treats the subject matter with an extra layer of reality, an extra layer of depth. That I mean, I think that's the secret to its success. And this guy's trying to take that away from it.
Defined by their actions, they are instead good or bad based on whether they are a protagonist or antagonist, and then the morality and gravity of their actions are weighted accordingly. And while again, I'm not looking to make any kind of moral judgment about how the series handles its subject matter, this flighty approach to the setting's ethical logic makes it hard to take it seriously.
The setting's ethical logic? It's not like settings necessarily have ethical logic. Settings are settings, and people within those settings have ethics and priorities. Stories, the way they're told, can have ethical implications sometimes. But I don't think the show ever tries to claim that Alistair is some good person. I mean, he's clearly shown being evil, just like most of the people in hell.
Seriously, when we suddenly see a disclaimer about sexual assault at the beginning of episode 4. And it's all made even more confusing with the wild pacing of the season. Entire months will pass by between episodes with little more than a line about it. What are you doing in that time? You can't really tell me they've just been doing trust falls for months. It adds on to all the...
It does kind of bug me. Well, the first season takes place over 6 months, and it's 8 episodes. So it's roughly like 3 weeks per episode. So it's... Yeah, it's kind of like... I don't think that that's like a whole month's like 3. He makes it sound like 3 months are passing between some episodes. No, like it starts with the last extermination. Adam tells her that the next one is in 6 months. Final episode of the season is 6 months later, the next extermination. I don't think that's that long of a stretch. I don't think that the show does anything that is like giving us a time jump that it's not excusing with its own writing. I think it works out okay.
The other issues I've mentioned. The plot details are nebulous, it's hard to get a grip on what's at stake, important elements will be introduced moments before they're relevant, and then there's a 50-50 chance you'll even hear about them in passing again. It makes for a very inefficient and frustrating style of storytelling. Honestly, I think a lot of problematic things that people accuse a show of in the discourse aren't just unintentional, but were actively meant to be addressed. The series is just that bad at telling its story, and it fails the concepts that it's trying to bring to life. Because here's the thing, beneath the slipshod storytelling, the show remains, much to my chagrin, just good enough for me to stay invested in it. Some of the songs feel out of place and forced, and then Poison comes out of nowhere and is great. Most of the humor is akin to Adam calling himself the Dick Master, and then there'll suddenly be jokes I really like.
Webster's Dictionary defines
Nah, I didn't like this joke all that. I preferred the Dick Master joke. I thought that was funnier. Dude, Adam's trolling in that episode was so funny. Him just constantly poking at Charlie and like doing this meeting where he knows like he's only doing the meeting just to be a dick. And he knows that before going into it. And so it's just watching him just like knowing that he has the edge on her. Like, oh my God, this person thinks that I'm actually wanting to talk to her. How fucking hilarious this whole time. And that's a great way of showing how much is going against Charlie. But it's just funny to watch him have such a great time at her expense. And it makes Charlie funny, because Charlie is a character who could very easily have not been funny and not been interesting, but they make her really, really funny and really interesting in the show, which I think is really impressive. She's a very strong female character in a very feminine way. She has a very feminine strength that I admire quite a lot.
redemption as...
Objection! Lame and unoriginal.
Sustained. No further dictionary references, please.
Right, okay.
And the characters are actually all pretty good. In fact, let me give some unqualified praise for a moment. Alistair is hands down the best character in the show. I just love his whole shtick, the voice and the mystery, how we find out little bits and pieces about him, the spiel he gives Charlie about the power of a smile and using it to throw your opponent for a loop really emphasizes how deliberately he's leading everyone on, even taunting her about how little he lets her know. And
it was one of the coolest decisions for this show to have Alistair never break his smile. For him to, even when he's mad, even when he's sad, no matter, even when he's in private in his room, he always has that smile plastered on his face. He will never let that smile drop. Such a cool detail for him. And they managed to make him express so much through that smile in a way that feels totally unique and makes him feel like a character we've never seen before. And it was really jarring in season 2 when Vox puts that fake frown on his face because he doesn't want it to look like Alistair has the upper hand. So when he parades Alistair around town, he puts a little mask on him with a digital frown. Like, such a weird detail, and it feels so wrong when you're watching it. You're like, he's not smiling. Really cool.
And what's more, I love that we, the audience, don't know yet how he really feels about the hotel. There's strong indicators that he's actually invested in its success, but then you go, oh wait, he's doing something kind of tricky.
Yeah, and I love that about him. Where you never really know how much he cares about or respects Charlie, even. Sometimes it really does seem like he admires her in a way. But you're never sure. And season 2 pokes more holes in that. Because it really makes it seem like he's really just acting out of self-interest. And the only reason he was ever there was because of Rosie.
Again. And it leaves us questioning. And these bits are peppered all through the season. I have no notes on this guy. I like him. Now, to be sure, some of the other characters took longer to grow on me. Sometimes they lurch back and forth, but in the end, they all get at least interesting, and I found myself actually caring about them. Yeah, even Angel Dust. Angel, I can suck your dick dust. During Heaven's trial in episode 6, a lot hinges on the choices he makes while out on the town. I found myself actually leaning forward a bit to see what he was going to do. And we see he's not only learned to care for other people around him, but also gained the strength to stand up to the abusive Valentino. That's not a good moment, that's a great moment. This is what I wanted the show to give me more of. Husker goes from being some gruff demon cat to establishing an actual rapport with the others. And we see that he's actually pretty cunning and wise, just down on his luck. His predicament is communicated in a visually interesting way. And of course, Keith David is really able to sell his songs. Yeah, the man can sing. Plot twist, I know. I actually quite enjoy the portrayal of Lucifer in this show. Yes, he's a twink in formal wear again. But I like that he clearly wants to be a better father for Charlie and yet struggles with how to do that. Ironically, the King of Hell feels like he has the purest intentions in the whole place. And it makes...
Well, I like how... And season 2 goes more into it. I like how Lucifer just... really is just kind of a wasted talent. Like, he just gave up. He seems to just have nothing but contempt for the place he lives and the people who live there. And he just hates life, he hates the world. And he has nothing but regret. And it's such a lovely contrast with Charlie, where I think the core of who they are feels very similar. He's a goofball, the way she is. But then just that pessimism that he has, and also just his weakness. Like, he's a weak character. And he likes the lie that he has power and that he's strong. And in a way, like, he has a kind of raw power where he's an angel who can do impressive things. But he really can't affect any major influence in hell. And he's given up on even trying. And I love that characterization. It's such a unique characterization of Lucifer. But I think it gets to certain ways that, like in Inferno, he was portrayed as a prisoner in an ice block. You know, like that was Satan. He was the biggest sufferer in all of hell.
Some a refreshing presence amid the rest of the cast. Charlie and Vaggie's relationship is actually really nice. I like that you can really feel they care for each other, rather than us just being told they care for each other. There are productions that I overall like better than this show that don't nail that dynamic nearly as well. But then I find myself flip-flopping back. That's what makes talking about the show so frustrating. I'll find myself liking some element and then it falters at a crucial point. Yeah, I like Charlie and Vaggie's relationship. And in Chapter 6, they face their biggest obstacle yet, when, plot twist, Vaggie was actually an angel who had taken part in the exterminations in the past. How sickening for Charlie. However, will she get over this? She talks about it with the Queen of the Cannibals for a bit in episode 7, and she gets over it. Over it to the point that Vaggie is comfortable cracking jokes about it in the finale.
To be honest, I think it's more surprising that she would have a problem with it in the first place. It was more just the shock that, Vaggie never told her, and that what that means for the trust in their relationship. But to me, I was never expecting this to be a big, point of issue between her and Vaggie, because, look at the way she treats the sinners in hell. Look at the way she treats every horrible person. She treats them with love and acceptance and the ability to forgive them. So why wouldn't she treat Vaggie the same way? And so it really does feel very in character for her to do this. But at the same time, it does feel like a little bit of kind of a boring, and that was kind of part of the boring aspect of episode 7 was this conflict with her and Vaggie, where it makes sense storytelling-wise, but it's not interesting because you know that it's going to resolve itself with Charlie forgiving Vaggie, and it's going to be fine, because it's just not Charlie's style to hold a grudge like this. So, in the end, it's just kind of like you're watching it and all right, when's it going to wrap up? You're not like, oh, where's this gonna go?
I mean, personally, I'm excited. It's been a long time since I stabbed anyone and really meant it, you know what I mean?
And the thing is, I actually like the logic that Rosie uses with Charlie.
Isn't that silly hotel of yours all about redemption?
Yes?
Perhaps this girl was trying to redeem herself too.
That's a really good way to tie the personal stake of this conflict into the overall point of the show. But I wish we had more time to linger on it. I wish we had more time to see and feel the trust getting rebuilt between them. Also, episode 7 has this line.
Wait, I'm an exorcist? How?
You have a giant X over your eye and wield an angelic spear. It's not rocket science.
That's an angelic spear? Were we supposed to know that? I thought that was just a spear. I thought that's just how they were drawn in this.
No, we weren't supposed to know that. Oh my god. Are you an idiot? No, we, the audience, were not supposed to know that. Carmilla Carmine is the only one who's supposed to know that. Because that's the whole fucking reason Vaggie is talking to her. Because Carmilla Carmine understands angelic weapons and knows how to make them. The
show. It's not just me. I've talked to other folks who watched the show. Some of them didn't pick it up either. Imagine how much more impactful this reveal could.
Yeah, you're not supposed to pick it up.
Could have been. Perhaps earlier in the series, Charlie tells someone about how she found Vaggie wounded after an extermination and saved her, taking the angelic spear.
I do agree that that's a good touch. If they had foreshadowed it a bit, it would have been more interesting. That's a good note. I won't deny you that point of quality.
Spear that we then hold up to look at. Give this a clear setup so that we can feel betrayed like Charlie when we realize we've been lied to as well. Or look at episode 5, which is the introduction of Lucifer, who again I like as a character concept. We see him get jealous of Alistair, whom he sees as usurping his role as a father figure.
Okay. Lucifer is kind of a dumbass. I do think it might have been interesting if Lucifer had noticed that Vaggie was an angel. But he also is a dumbass. So it kind of would have been out of character for the sort of person they were setting up, where he's really just out of touch. He doesn't care. He doesn't notice stuff. He doesn't watch TV. He's totally just disconnected.
Okay, good conflict being set up. Then they roll into a song about it, which is a bit rushed, but alright.
Okay, looks like he's not even making that point. I just assumed he was. But, you know, that's another thing that I've heard people talk about. That's why I thought it was going there.
Right, we'll see where this goes.
It's me! Yes, it's me!
Ugh. And then the song is crashed by fucking Mimsy. And now as the episode is already trying to juggle the introduction of one new very important character, it also has to carve out room for Mimsy. And after taking up all the screen space in this very important...
I gotta be honest, I think putting Mimsy in this show was a really weird idea. And I know why it was done. It's because Mimsy was like a character that Vivian had created really early on. She was like one of the early cast members of Hazbin Hotel, along with Baxter, by the way, who doesn't show up until season 2. Baxter was one of the first characters created for the show. And also, Angel Dust wasn't even supposed to be in it at first. It was his brother, Arachnus, who hasn't even shown up in the show except for like one moment where he's briefly in a frame in a filler shot. But he hasn't become a character yet. So it's interesting how a lot of the characters who Vivian had thought would be main characters in the show, she's actually saving for a lot later. And Mimsy is a weird example because she shows up in this episode and then never again. And it's like, oh, she shows up in the past in when we're seeing the Alistair flashback in season 2 when she's a human. But it's like, this is clearly a character that she wanted to include, that she thought was interesting, but she's really just not interesting. Like, there's nothing about her that we want to see. I've never heard anyone talk about wanting to see more Mimsy. She sucks. Like, why was she even included in this episode? It is weird.
Part of the show, she does not appear again for the rest of the season. Mimsy serves 4 roles in the show. She's another...
It sets up the reason why she goes to see her. What are you talking about with that comment? The reason... What sets up the reason why who goes to see who?
Another person from Alistair's past telling us that he's been around. She instigates a secondary conflict of the episode by intentionally luring her creditors to the hotel. She refuses to dedicate herself to reform, causing Alistair to forcefully send her away, giving us a hint that he might actually care about the hotel. And she tells us about Alistair's reputation and past as the radio demon. Let's go through these one by one. The first function has already been served by other elements within the series. We know that a lot of people know Alistair. This is a weak and superfluous reason to have Mimsy exist. The second and third functions, I'd argue, could be better filled by an existing character. Maybe Angel Dust or Serpentius backslide a bit. They do a bad thing and bring trouble to the hotel. Then
that would be a good idea. Yeah, I actually think it would have been more interesting if Angel Dust were the one who brought trouble to the hotel.
Alistair can confront them and demand to know if they're actually serious about rehabilitation.
Nah, that wouldn't be Alistair's style. He would just be grateful that he gets to eat people. that would be his... Nah. I feel like this guy doesn't get a lot of stuff. Like, Alistair wouldn't do that. Alistair wouldn't be like, why are you bringing... He told Mimsy to leave because he thought she was annoying, and she was only there for him, and she was just mooching and being a douchebag. So he was like, I think you should get the fuck out of here. Even though they knew each other when they were alive. But it just shows how little he gives a shit about people. That he's like, you know what, fuck off, Mimsy. It's like your drunk uncle coming to visit, and you're like, you know what? I know I knew you when I was a kid, but just get the fuck out of my house.
We still get his character moment, and we could give these guys something to do besides literally eating popcorn and riffing on the drama.
Ooh, drama. This is really getting good.
Oh, that was sweet.
We don't need the show
That is kind of funny that that's all the other characters do in this episode, is they just watch stuff.
telling us how to feel. I can make my own emotions. Thank you very much. Anyways, that just leaves a bit of Alistair's backstory, which could easily be communicated to the audience by any number of characters. In fact, idea, have Vaggie ask why everyone is so afraid of Alistair. And someone could go, seriously? You never heard of...
No, they can't do that because in the pilot, she's the one who tells the story about Alistair. So she knows all about Alistair, according to the pilot. So it would be weird if people who saw the pilot would be like, wait a minute. Huh? So no, they couldn't do that.
Of him, as a way to subtly foreshadow that no, Vaggie never did hear of him because she's not actually from Hell. Sure, you'd have to retcon the fact that she was the one telling Angel Dust about Alistair in the pilot.
Yeah.
But hey, the episode's already retconning that Angel Dust was told about Alistair anyway, so what?
Oh, I didn't even think about that. You know what? I didn't even think about that. You're right. That's a good point. That's a good point. It's a wash. I didn't even think of that. Angel Dust was the one who asked Mimsy.
What's the harm? Mimsy's very existence actively harms the story. By removing this one element from the show, the other elements can be made stronger. There are so many similar instances I can point to where the story could be tightened. And when we look at the finale, we see this method of storytelling come to a head. So I've made my peace. At the climax of the season, it's going to be Charlie leading her gang in a big battle against the forces of heaven. The last episode had them getting the manpower and weapons needed.
It's funny that Charlie's outfit gets more, like, it gets more, like, gay and frilly and feminine when she's going into battle. Isn't that kind of funny? Because she normally wears a suit. And then she puts on this really, like, tiny revealing dress when she gets ready for battle. It's a funny little detail that does kind of feel in character for her in a weird way.
Charlie leading her gang in a big battle against the forces of heaven. The last episode had them getting the manpower and weapons needed to fend them off. But oh no, all seems lost. How will they get out of this? Lucifer saves them. The guy we saw in one episode who hasn't been seen since, not even earlier in the finale. Now, the on-paper fact of Lucifer saves his daughter at the last second isn't inherently bad. It's the execution that fails the concept. I even like this
Wait, why though?
character, but I don't think he should have taken the victory away from Charlie.
Well, but if he didn't, then why would Lucifer be in season 2? Like, it's supposed to set up the fact that Lucifer is gonna be in the hotel from now on. We're supposed to be left with that at the end. And we're supposed to be left with, like, this scene where he's reassuring. He says this as he's playing a clip that disproves the point he's making. This scene where Lucifer is reassuring Charlie is only possible because Lucifer shows up in the battle. And so, yeah, like, this is supposed to show that Lucifer is willing to be like, all right, you know what? I hate hell. I hate sinners. I resent the fact that I'm even here. He's like Seneca on the island of Corsica. He's like, this place is dog shit. The people are dog shit. I hate the fact that I have to live here. But at the same time, he's like, you know what? I love this girl. This girl is the shit. And I see now that, like, hey, man, it doesn't matter if I even agree with her dream. what she did here today is fucking incredible. And what she's building right now is such a cool idea. And I want to get behind her. I want to like show her that I love her. Like be there for her. Like if he wasn't in this episode, it wouldn't have the same heart and impact that it had. And like I said, this isn't my favorite episode of the series, but like his inclusion made it so much better than it would have been.
Charlie. It makes Charlie feel a lot weaker as a character. And the show, again, points this out.
In an unseen turn of events, our demonic head honcho Lucifer stepped in to save his daughter's ass in the last moment.
Once more, the series being aware of this doesn't automatically excuse it. Is his intervention supposed to cement a theme of the importance of family?
Anything. Yeah, it is. But I just don't see there being anything to excuse here. Like, why is it necessary for Charlie to have some military victory? That's not even Charlie's style. Her victories don't come in the form of violence. That's what the show has established. Her victories are different from that.
I don't think Lucifer had enough of a presence in the show for that to be strong, but at least he doesn't actually finish off Adam. That's saved for Charlie as a dramatic moment to defeat her nemesis since the very first oh, wait, no, sorry, that's wrong. Adam's death is saved for Vaggie as a way to finally overcome her past and... Oh, sorry, got it wrong again. It's Nifty.
Nifty!
Nifty kills Adam. A running gag character who's more gag than character delivers the knockout blow to the season's main antagonist. You can say that it's a final thumb of the nose at someone who's so obviously a douchebag, like, oh, he doesn't deserve a better defeat. But is it really worth it when any number...
Because it wouldn't have really made sense for any of these characters. Like, he gave some examples, but those examples didn't really have any impact.
That it's a final delivers
like,
the
what examples did he give?
Overcome her... Adam's death is saved for Vaggie as a way... as a dramatic moment. But at least he doesn't actually finish off Adam. That's saved for Charlie as a dramatic moment to defeat her nemesis since the very first... to
defeat her nemesis, but that's not her style. It wouldn't make sense for her character. She's non-violent, so that's stupid.
Oh, sorry, that's wrong. Adam's death...
Like, what is this inability to understand characterization and storytelling?
...is saved for Vaggie as a way to finally overcome her past and...
Overcome her past where she was killing demons? You think she's going to overcome that by killing angels? No.
Oh, sorry, got it wrong again. It's Nifty.
Nifty, a gag that has been set up since the first episode, that she's this crazy psychopath, finally getting some resolution at the end at the expense of, like he said, a total douchebag. Like, you can't pick a better end for this character.
The thumb of the nose at someone who's so worth it.
It was worth it because Adam isn't worth it. Because in the end, what was he? He was just some douchebag with more power than he deserved. That's all he represented in this show. We weren't given any real depth to Adam other than that.
When any number of other options could have had a more satisfying punch in the story. It also doesn't help that other aspects of the finale feel weightless. The V's are back, and their role is to basically riff on the whole ordeal, which gets irritating. Really?
I thought it was funny. I liked it. I thought it actually revealed more about their dynamic. It wasn't just there for fun. It showed how much, for one thing, how much Vox hated Alistair, that he made that their movie night to just watch Alistair get defeated. But then also, it gives this sort of, like, energy where, like, Velvet is the daughter of these two chaotic gay dads, which is hilarious. Like, it's funny just to imagine it being that way. And that's kind of what's implied with a lot of the V's material in this episode, and yeah, it works. It's an interesting dynamic.
Really fast. If I wanted to watch this,
it's a dynamic that wasn't in their episode in episode 2, and it's introduced in this one, and it's fascinating.
Episode as a reaction video, I would have looked it up on Twitch instead of Amazon. Alistair's defeat at Adam's hands feels more like a minor setback. The way he sinks into the ground, I thought it was a tactical retreat and he'd be back later in the fight. And then you have Sir Pentious' death.
Okay. That could have been.
This is one area where I'll probably actually agree with him. Because I did think that Sir Pentious' death was a little bit strange. Now, I do like the mixture of comedy and drama that is in this series. I like it a lot, but there's a way of doing it right that the show mostly nails, and then this one was just a little bit odd because of how quickly it happened. Because in this, it's pretty funny that Adam just, like, it's gearing up for this intense moment, and Adam just zaps him, and he's like, that could have been bad. Like, that even made me just chuckle there for a second. But then following that immediately, we have Charlie being like, no! And it's like, really, you're supposed to understand what she's going through there? And it's like, okay, there's a whiplash from one to the other. If it weren't so fast, if I had more time to react, or if they had just played it differently, or just decided to scrap the joke or something, I don't know, then it would have flowed better, but it was just kind of jarring. That being said, I do like both of these ideas. I like the idea of making it a dramatic death, and I like the idea of making it funny. It's just putting them both together felt forced.
Been ugly.
Yes, again, I know it's supposed to be a gag. It can still be followed by just a couple more seconds of gravity at the sight of a character.
Yeah, if they had just had a couple more seconds, like, just some silence after to let you laugh, haha, then some silence, and you're like, oh shit, was I supposed to laugh at that? And then seeing their reactions, that would have sold it way better. Even just that quick fix would have made it a much better moment.
After we followed, and I assume we're supposed to care about, getting atomized by Adam. Oh, wait, no, he's alive again. And he's in heaven? Wait, is this what happens to souls that die in hell? Because they never explain that to us in the series.
No. It's not what happens to souls. They do explain what happens. They do explain it in the series. Souls who die in hell are killed again. That's in the line of in hell is forever. They're just supposed to be gone. Or we don't know. Maybe they're in some other place, but they're not in heaven. If they were in heaven, it wouldn't make sense that Adam is killing them and they're going to heaven. That's not how it works.
Series, despite it being an incredibly crucial plot point. Maybe they're gonna tell us that next season. Oh, and it turns out Charlie's mom is in heaven and she might do something next season. The hotel gets rebuilt. And maybe the next season we'll actually focus on them redeeming people. You know, the whole point of the series.
Like, he keeps saying that like it's a big fucking problem for the show, but no, it's not.
I guess we gotta wait till the next season to see all that. We have to
like, this is such an autistic point. Like, it's the point of the series. He's like a guy who reads a synopsis on Wikipedia, reads the first paragraph, and is like, this is what it has to be about. It's like, maybe just let the series tell its own story. Don't be such a weirdo about it.
Wait for the next season to get the basic answers of how this world works. But I don't know. Maybe we should have gotten some of that information and
No, like, it's supposed to be a surprise that Sir Pentious got into heaven. We're not supposed to believe that that's possible. That's what makes that moment interesting. It wouldn't have been interesting if we knew that that was going to happen to him. It's supposed to be a twist that that Lilith is in heaven and that she has some sort of a deal with Adam. That's supposed to be like a reveal at the end. It would have been interesting if we knew that the whole time. Like, what is this guy talking about? This is so stupid.
Payoff in this season of the show. I want to say again, I don't hate this series. It has concepts and characters that...
Dramatic pause. Yeah, a pause that, like, where everything quiets down, no music, no sound, right after the laugh, gives you time to laugh, but then gives you time to reflect, like, hold on. Should I be laughing? I think that would have worked better. But instead it's just cut from laugh to suddenly no, and it's like, wait, how am I supposed to feel?
I want to love more than I do, but the show keeps getting in its own way. Interesting conflicts aren't given the time they need to flourish. Important stakes aren't given the clarity they need to be meaningful. So much of it is played off as a gag, and well, once again, I get it's intentional, something has to matter. Something has to have gravity here. Because by the end, it feels like all we've seen is a teaser for season 2 of Has Been Hotel, where...
Oh my god. No! We had plenty of emotional stakes. We had plenty of great stuff happening. We had that whole Masquerade episode. That was fucking fantastic. Showed Angel Dust and Husk. Their issues. I mean, come on. You're just ignoring all the great stuff this season did.
Maybe we'll get to see Charlie and her hotel actually do her thing. I like to believe a rising tide lifts all boats. And that
and it all hinges for him around. We have to see redemption happen on screen. Like, what is his obsession with this? I don't get why he cares so much about this.
Success of Has Been Hotel can leave doors opened in its wake. For that, I'm happy for its mere existence. I just wish it could be better. And I think it can be. Maybe next season.
Yeah, alright. I dislike this video. Not a fan of it. I'll watch one more video this stream. Yeah. Let's see what to watch next. I can do another one by this guy. See, I like this guy more than the last guy. There are two different videos I have here that are both called Hell of a Boss is Frustrating. One by the last guy and one by this guy. Now, this guy's videos, even though I like him more, this one's a lot longer. The last guy video, the last guy, I don't like his video at all. I like it a lot less than this one. But, it's only 13 minutes, so I think I'll watch the last guy's video. Oh, he's black, too. It's a black guy. Surprise black guy. There we go. Another one by this Goldhorn. Nope. We're watching Corin 15.
So guys, some of y'all may notice about me and some of y'all may not, but I really like Has Been
I'm black. No, I think I did notice that he was black in the last one. I just didn't. Because he wasn't on camera, I didn't internalize it. But here we go.
Hotel. Yes, Has Been Hotel, that cringy internet show that took over TikTok about a year ago. What can I say, man? I didn't choose this life. It was chosen for me. As someone who was always into cringe stuff growing up, Has Been Hotel was just right up my alley. Alright, but all jokes aside,
he doesn't like Stolas. This is the guy who hates Stolas. But he likes Has Been Hotel.
Has Been Hotel was actually pretty successful. Like, as someone who likes the show, I was genuinely surprised how popular the show became. Because on top of getting renewed for another 2 seasons before season 1 even finished, Has Been Hotel really made people interested in indie animation. Because even though the show is on Prime, it did start off as an indie animated pilot. And after season 1, you started to see fans of the series want more indie animated shows, wanting something similar to Has Been Hotel. And a lot of people started getting into things like Murder Drones, The Amazing Digital Circus, and just other indie animated pilots. But the thing that was so funny is that a lot of people who were new to this side of the internet didn't know that Has Been Hotel actually has a sister show that takes place in the same universe called Hell of a Boss. And I remember at the time there were so many fans of the series praising the show, saying that, oh man, the show is so good and it's actually better than Has Been Hotel, you would definitely like it. Which is kind of crazy in retrospect, because over the last couple weeks the narrative around Hell of a Boss has completely shifted, as so many former fans of the series have come out basically saying that they don't like the show anymore and that they're dropping the show. Now look, as someone who's watched both seasons of Hell of a Boss, I'm here to tell you, I don't like this show. No, but in all honesty, bro, I've tried so hard to like this show because I do like Has Been Hotel, and I just couldn't.
I mean, it's not fair that he hates Stolas, so fuck this guy. But it's fair not caring for Hell of a Boss while being a Has Been Hotel fan. That's fair because it's very different and it is worse. I do think Has Been Hotel is better.
Couldn't do it. Like, the show just doesn't appeal to me. And since I keep seeing this topic come up as to why people are leaving Hell of a Boss and why people are starting to not like this show, I thought I'd make a video as to why I personally don't like the show and why I think some of the fans could be disappointed and why they're starting to drop the show altogether. So one common critique I see people have online about Hell of a Boss is that the show ditched its original premise, which is also a critique that I had of the show. And the strange thing to me is that I will see people online defend the show, basically saying things like, oh, the show didn't ditch its premise, or they'll say things like, well, no, the show was always supposed to be like this and people just weren't.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that. I would say it ditched the premise for a good reason. It had better stuff to do. Like, ditching something isn't always a bad thing. And I guess I don't realize what people were so infatuated with about the original premise. What about that premise was so fucking cool to people? Because I watched the first 4 episodes of the series where they were doing the premise in... Actually, not even in the second one. They did it in episode 1, 3, 4, and then, like, never again until season 2, episode... like, really long into the future, like season 2, episode 5, Unhappy Campers. So they did Murder Family, then Lululand, which wasn't about them going up to Earth to kill humans at all. So already in episode 2, they're not doing the premise. Episode 3 is Spring Breakers. They're doing the premise. Episode 4 is probably the most premise-y of all of them. It's like a weird Looney Tunes episode that doesn't really work. Then they have a massive stretch where they're just not doing it at all. Just for the whole full fucking rest of the season, not doing the premise. Until episode 5 of season 2, Unhappy Campers, where they do it again in the dumbest way possible. So why were people so in love with this premise? I've never understood this criticism of the show. They were like, oh, this premise was so great, but it's like, did you watch those episodes? Like, what was so great about it? They killed dumb, boring humans who had way too much screen time, who sucked, who had dumb designs, who were really stupid, couldn't tell that they were demons, thought that they were possums. Like, the humans were dumber and crazier than the demons, which feels wrong. It feels like it should be the other way around. The humans should be normal and the demons should be crazy. Like, what about this premise was so electrifying to people? It's just something I've never understood.
Paying attention, it was like this even in season 1, but both of those things just aren't true. Number one, I don't understand how some people can argue
Hell of a boss can be an acquired taste. I like it, but I understand. Human characters weakly written. Yeah, like they're all just these totally lifeless wafer cookie personalities. Like, they've all been that way. Like, the only human character in the show who hasn't been that way was that one in the short episode who was like the otaku monster fucker girl who was in love with Blitz. That was really funny because that was like, oh my god, this person has a personality and there's something to her. And she knows that he's a monster too. Like that keeps pissing me off in all of these episodes where they'll see these obvious demons. And because they put like a fake mustache on, oh, it's just a person. Like, no, are you fucking retarded? I hate that. It's not funny. I just hate it. It's just frustrating.
argue that the show hasn't switched its premise when originally the pilot for the show was about demons running a murder business where they would be contracted to kill people on Earth. And you would be lying to yourself to say that the main focus of the show now isn't about the relationship of Blitz and Stolas, which was only a small aspect, really wasn't even a big thing in the pilot.
In the pilot, yeah. But I wouldn't say it wasn't a big deal. I mean, it was kind of a big plot point, if the pilot even had plot. But to judge the show by the pilot is kind of weird, because the pilot is really nothing like the show. The pilot is a totally disconjointed mess that's a bunch of Family Guy style cutaways. That's basically the whole thing. Like, by the end of it, you have no idea what the story even was.
The entire purpose of a pilot is to test a series to an audience. It's supposed to summarize the tone of the story.
No, it's supposed to be whoa, it looks like he's kissing her. It's supposed to be a proof of concept. It's supposed to be like, let's do this idea, and then this is our trial run for it to see if we can get it picked up. That's the point of a pilot. It's not supposed to be even reviewed by an audience. It's just supposed to be watched by whoever wants to potentially invest in it.
The main characters and give you an overarching look of the story going forward. The pilot is quite literally the only reason why I gave Hell of a Boss a chance, unlike other people.
The pilot isn't canon. And it frankly never was canon. I'm pissed off at these people who are dumb enough to think that the pilot was canon ever. Because look at Millie's hair. It has a white splotch in it. It was never canon. As soon as they made the final episode 1, the pilot, you can just throw that in the trash. It doesn't mean anything. It was just a proof of concept. It was just like, let's try out this show. See what people think about it, see what we think about it, see if we want to change anything in the future. That's all it was.
People who started on episode 1, Danny Mata. I started with the pilot, and based off of the pilot, it gave me the idea that this was going to be an episodic show about demons going on different jobs. Which brings me to my next point.
Yeah, and that would have been lame. This show is way more interesting, showing their relationships and how life really is for them.
Because for the people that say that the show was always about Stolas and Blitz, they're wrong too. Because for a majority of season 1, the show was actually about demons doing jobs. Now,
really? Okay, let's break it down. Like I said, episodes 1, 3, and 4 were about that. Episode 2 was not about that. It was about Blitz and Stolas. It was about Stolas wanting to hire Blitz as security when he was really just in love with him. Okay? Episode 5 was the same thing. Stolas invites Blitz out to the Harvest Moon Festival with him, and Millie happens to have family there. That's not about demons doing jobs. That's about their relationship. Episode 6 was about them trying to do a job, but then they get kidnapped, and then Stolas rescues them, and then it reinforces the whole love story with this hallucination scene where it talks about how Blitz pushes everyone away and is afraid of getting close to people, and he's afraid of Stolas for that reason. Episode 7 is all about Blitz and Stolas' relationship, as well as Blitz's relationship with everyone. Moxie, Millie, Fizzaroli, and even, introducing the whole love story with Fizz and Ozzy. So, no, you're full of shit. It was like, I would say like 2/5 of season 1. Oh yeah, and then episode 8 was the same shit. So I would say like 2/5 of season 1 was about this premise that they set up in the pilot. The rest of it was about Blitz and Stolas.
Were they always doing contracted jobs, killing living people? No, but if you want to look at the 8 episodes in season 1, 5 out of 8 mostly revolved around the IMP business doing some type of job.
That is such bullshit. 3 out of 8. It was 3 out of 8 that revolved around that. It was Murder Family, it was Spring Broken, it was Cherub. Those are the 3. The other ones were about Blitz's relationship with Stolas, except for maybe Truth Seekers, which was kind of a hybrid.
And I'm including the Lululand episode in this because...
No, don't include Lululand. Are you fucking kidding me?
Because while Stolas was a big part of this episode was mostly just world building and introducing new characters compared...
Introducing their... Dude, it begins with You Will Be Okay, that whole dramatic song with him and Octavia. This whole episode is about Stolas' relationship with Octavia and how Blitz is getting in the way of that. That's what this whole episode is about. God. These people are so frustrating. They don't understand anything.
Compared to what we get in season 2. But if you compare this to season 2 that has 12 episodes, you could really make the argument that 9 of those 12 just revolve around Stolas and Blitz. And I've seen...
Yeah, so 3 out of 8 of the first episodes of the episodes of season 1 are about this premise that people thought they were going to get. Season 2 has unhappy campers and basically nothing else. Basically, the rest of it is drama between the characters. So, I would agree that they leaned more into the serialized drama format in season 2. I would agree with that. I think that's natural for the show. I mean, Moral Oral did a similar thing with its season 3. It leaned more into serialized drama. In fact, I wish that Moral Oral got 2 more seasons, because I think it could have done a lot with 2 more seasons. But, yeah. This one, I think Hell of a Boss did it better than Moral Oral, though. Because they realized that they really only needed 1 season of setup, and even then, they're sprinkling things in. So they're not just doing filler. They're sprinkling in seeds that'll develop in season 2.
People online make the argument that, well, the IMP business isn't really a core theme of the show. It's the relationship of Blitz and Stolas, and that's what the show's really about. And to those people, I say, yeah, that's where the critique comes from. Like, Hell of a Boss is the equivalent of if season 2 of Hazbin Hotel wasn't really about redeeming souls or the hotel anymore, and was more about the relationship between Vaggie and Charlie.
No, because every episode of Hazbin Hotel was about Charlie trying to redeem souls and figuring out how to do that and dealing with the Angel Army. Hell of a Boss, by contrast, most of the episodes of season 1 were setting up Blitz and Stolas' relationship, so you can't make that argument. It doesn't make sense. In Has Been Hotel, even if we were to steelman this and say, all right, how many episodes of Has Been Hotel are setting up Charlie and Vaggie's relationship? We have a little bit in episode 3 with the whole whatever it takes thing and Vaggie wanting to be there for Charlie, be her armor, she says. And then episode 4, who cares? Episode 5, who cares? Episode 6, we get a little bit more of it with the whole thing with her being an angel. And episode 7 is where it gets resolved. And then there's nowhere to go. It got resolved already. In Hell of a Boss, we have this big hanging, kind of cliffhanger at the end of episode 7 and carrying on into episode 8 of season 1. What's going to happen with Blitz and Stolas? They had such a fucked up date at Aussies. Where is this going to go? So, I mean, that was clearly leading to that. Has Been Hotel was not leading to some, season 2 that was all about Charlie and Vaggie. By the way, this is the first time I've ever noticed this. The little midget Lucifers with the cornets on either side of him. That is such a weird detail. I have never seen that before. I had no idea that was at the beginning of Hell's Greatest Dad. The mini Lucifers. That's so weird. It's like the Miser Brothers, he's Mr. White Christmas, he's Mr. Snow, he's Mr. Icicle. Well, I guess in the Snow Miser one, he was the one singing. So he's like, I'm Mr. White Christmas. But then they join in later. It's like the little Snow Misers and the little Heat Misers. He has them too.
Really, for all the writing critiques that I have,
just for that one brief shot, it was 1 second that they were on screen. Never noticed that before. That's
about
so
Has Been
weird.
Hotel, which there's many. You could literally go watch this one right here. One thing that I can always say is that the hotel was the focus of the show. How it was marketed to us is how the show ended up becoming. All the conflicts in the show revolved around the hotel.
Also, there was a good solid 2 years where I was on those Reddit communities and seeing every post that people were making about Has Been Hotel on Reddit. Never once saw anybody bring up the mini Lucifers. I wonder if I'm the first person who ever noticed that detail. That's hilarious.
The new characters and new relationships that we came across came from the hotel, or they were adjacent to the hotel. And look, I've harped on this point for a little while now, but if I'm being honest, changing the premise of the show isn't the worst thing in the world. If you look at some of the most popular cartoons over the last decade, like Adventure Time or Regular Show, they both did the same things. Adventure Time started off as an episodic show about a boy and his dog going on magical adventures, and then later evolved into a deeply emotional fantasy story. And Regular Show started off as an episodic story about two friends slacking off getting into trouble, and later turned into a sci-fi adventure about a group of friends saving the world. So changing the premise of your show can be done, and it can...
You never noticed either. That is such a funny little detail. Seeing it now.
Can be done successfully. The problem is, Hell of a Boss doesn't do that, which really leads me into my next point. The show's writing is bad. So much to the point where I've seen people online say that the show is written like a fan fiction.
Give me a... Alright, give me a break. There are issues with it. It feels a little bit fanficky at times. I'm not gonna totally disagree. It's definitely not as well written as Has Been Hotel, I think. But it's not a badly written show, because there are some things like the relationship between Blitz and Stolas that are just so well done, so well ironed out, so perfect. And it pisses me off that those are the things that people hate the most about the writing of this show. I bet in the rest of the runtime, this guy's never going to bring up any problems with the Cherub episode, episode 4, which is like one of the worst written episodes of Hell of a Boss. It sucks. It's bad. It even has a major plot hole where this guy invents a de-aging machine and then he accidentally sets it to age him up. And then he gets all depressed, like, oh, I'm an old man. It's like, why not just get into the machine again and just turn the dial the other way and age yourself back down, you fucking moron. Like, I bet he's never going to bring that up. I bet he's never going to bring up Cherub in the rest of this video, but Cherub is such a poorly written episode. Meanwhile, he's probably going to bring up great episodes like Apology Tour and Mastermind and like he's like, the people who hate the show for all the wrong reasons. Like, there are plenty of things not to like about it, but pick the right ones, you fucking idiots. That's what bothers me about it. Oh, hey, it's the Cyrillic person. All right, let me see if I can read that name. Anonym. So it's like anonymous in Russian. I'm guessing. I don't know Cyrillic very well, but I've been kind of reading up on it lately. I think that's what you're going for.
Which, honestly, I've never heard that critique before about any show, but when I really thought about it, it kind of made sense. Like, if you're this far into the video, you might think that I just don't like Hell of a Boss because it's not this murder action show and because it's mostly about romance, but that's actually not the case. When I realized that this show wasn't going to be some weekly episodic action show, I was completely fine with that. And I was actually kind of excited when I realized that the show was going to be more serialized and tell a complete story. But the problem with not being episodic and choosing to tell a story is that when you choose to do that, people are going to be more critical of the story and the writing. People are going to remember details and remember them later when future episodes come out. And they're going to go, this doesn't really make sense. This doesn't really add up. I feel like we should have moved on from here, and so on and so forth. And throughout my time watching Hell of a Boss, I can say that it feels like it's written like a fan fiction critique feels like it holds more and more weight, because this show at many points in the story feels like it wants to have it all without sacrificing anything. Let's talk about Stolas, for example. I hate Stolas with everything in me. I didn't always feel this way about Stolas, but boy, season 2 just changed something in me. One moment that really made
I really don't want to listen to him rant about Stolas again after watching his whole video about that.
Me realize that Hell of a Boss's writing is pretty inconsistent is during the whole Full Moon and Apology Tour episodes, because
where he's not gonna mention the totally weak subplot with the cherubs and the dorks, which, by the way, is a stupid joke. DHORK, like, ugh, such a dumb joke. But, like, the cherubs and the dorks teaming up together to go kill Blitz, like, that whole thing was a snooze to me. I thought that was so unfunny. Like, the whole middle section of Full Moon was such a weird tonal whiplash for me, because I was loving that first song with Blitz and Stolas, their duet. That was so cool. And then it's that middle section is like, what? And suddenly this is a completely different episode. And then finally at the end, you get the good stuff again. He's not going to rant about the stuff that I didn't like. It's going to be the good stuff that he's ranting about. It's so annoying. And yeah, I really feel like it's the people who like watching cartoons. Because you'll notice he brought up other cartoons in this. He was like, yeah, Adventure Time. And what was the other one he brought up? I can't remember. The regular show? Not to say that those aren't good shows. I mean, I liked Adventure Time although I didn't see it on TV. I saw it, like, my brother showed me some episodes later on. Didn't get into Gravity Falls, though. I don't know if that's something that I should have gotten into. Never liked it. Maybe it was the episodes I was exposed to. I liked Adventure Time, though. But yeah, it's like, yeah, he watches cartoons, and then they all have these, like, very kind of predictable plots, you know, basic plots. Plots that don't revolve around a lot of real intense moral complexity and fucked up characters with trauma, you know. And then he watches something adult like this, and then when it's at its most childish, that's when he likes it the most. But when it's at its most adult, that's where he takes issue with it. And he's like, this is poorly written. It's like, no, you have it the opposite way around. Where it's most adult, that's where it's best written. Where it's most childish, that's where it's worst written. It's so frustrating.
One thing that just had me scratching my head drastically was this whole narrative that the writers were pushing, where Stolas was basically saying that he never looked down on Blitz and that he never thought less of Blitz, and that he thought that the only reason that the relationship was what it was is because Blitz made everything sexual. Even though if we just go back some episodes, we have countless moments of Stolas talking down to Blitz like he's a dog.
But that's not what the show was trying to say. It's the thing is, there was a miscommunication where Stolas was truly in love with Blitz, but because Blitz was so sexually forward in their first interaction, he thought that's how to get his attention. That's what he likes. Oh, I'm going to be sexual. But he didn't realize that, no, that's kind of making him uncomfortable. But at the same time, that was kind of the only way for Blitz to justify the relationship to himself, because he's so weird about relationships ever since his stuff with Vizarali went to the shitter. Ever since Verosica, that whole thing just went down the drain. Like, his whole thing has been so fucked by his past experiences. And so, in a way, Stolas was right that this is the way to get his attention, but it was still making him uncomfortable. So there's this dynamic where they're attracted to each other, but he's uncomfortable with him and he doesn't know how to fix that. And then this is where they start talking, and it's messy, and Blitz is making this whole thing about sex as a cover for his emotional trauma, and he's like, I don't know what to do to get through to you, because he spent season 2, the entirety of season 2 up to this point, trying to convince him that it's more than that. Because at the end of season 1, at Ozzy's, I mean, I've explained this so many times in other reactions before, I can't believe I have to say this again. In Ozzy's, he realized, oh, this guy thinks I only want him for sex. So for the rest of season 2, for the beginning of season 2, rather, he's trying to amend that. He's trying to reach out to him. He's texting him. He's like, hey, do you want to hang out? Hey, I know you're upset at me, but let me explain. Like, he's trying to make a connection with him, and Blitz is just brushing him off. And then this is his final breaking point. This is his last straw, where he's like, oh my God, after all that I've tried to do for you, you know, in this past season, you still think that I'm only after the sex? What is wrong with you? What is wrong with me? What am I doing? And this song, actually, this song that we've paused on, is him reflecting all that and going, what if I came on too strong? What if I did this all wrong? All this what if, why is gonna make me burn? Like, that's what this bridge is talking about. He himself doesn't know if he made the right call. Like, all of this is so well written. And you've got to be a fucking retard not to see that. I'm sorry. You've got to be an idiotic child not to see this. Man. I'm gonna put this up. I'm gonna put this one and the last one by this guy, the Corin guy. I'm gonna stitch them together and I'm gonna call it like Hell of a Boss haters are childish or something like that. Because that's the real impression I'm getting. It's like they have this totally childish understanding of storytelling. They want everything to be super simplistic and bland and good guys and bad guys with no like actual subtlety, no reality.
Calling him his little imp, reminding him that he's inferior to him. Oh, and also we have an entire scene of Stolas calling Blitz, giving him terms on how he can use his grimoire. Oh, am I watching? And I was genuinely right, which to me made me feel like whoever wrote the boss that Blitz is just this terrible person. He's this terrible person that has done so many people wrong. And look, has Blitz done bad things?
Yeah, he has. And so the show is right for pointing that out. Like, come on. He has a whole party. And this is one of the weird cartoony things. Like, I don't know if I really buy this premise that he has there's this whole party of all of his exes who come together to hate on him. That just doesn't, that feels very, like, weirdly unrealistic. So for a show that has a lot of reality and emotion, it also has a lot of weirdly cartoony stuff where I'm like, that's stupid.
Things, of course. Does he need to grow as a person? Of course, and it's clear that throughout certain moments in the show he wants to. But another inconsistency I've noticed in this show is that they will vilify Blitz one episode, have an entire party with all the people he's done wrong celebrating, hating on him. But then they will coddle Stolas in another episode. Like, there are genuinely people that...
In another episode? Don't you mean in the same episode? What are you talking about? You're saying inconsistency, but if it's an inconsistency, wouldn't it be in the same episode that they're coddling Stolas? If supposedly that's so hypocritical. Like, in different situations, some characters might be sympathetic in the plot, others might be not sympathetic in the plot in different situations. It only really makes sense if you're talking about the same situation.
Argue that Stolas is a good dad, and every time someone says that, all I can imagine is the scene in my head where after...
Yeah, that seems to be the crux of the issue with these haters.
Stolas got caught cheating on his wife, he takes Octavia to Lululand, but before he does that, he calls Blitz and basically hires Blitz to be his bodyguard for the day. And when he's on the phone talking to Blitz, he talks about how he wants to screw Blitz in front of his daughter. And there's like no real repercussions for Stolas being a horrible person. Stolas fits in this category of character that I hate, similar to Princess Bubblegum, to where they do horrible things, but the narrative around the show still wants you to feel bad for them or wants you to think they're a good person. Stolas' treatment and views on imps never gets addressed. Stolas being a cheater, the show literally justifies it by making his wife a raging psychopath, I guess, and then also saying that Stolas really had no friends and that he was an outcast of the Goetia, which is then also insane because then when we get to the latter of season 2, we have this character who is a Goetia that's sticking up for Stolas, caring about him just out of the blue, out of nowhere. So I guess the writers just forgot that Stolas was an outcast with no friends. And if I'm being honest, I don't even think I would dislike Stolas as much as I do if the show actually portrayed him how he's perceived, because Stolas is not a good person. And look, he doesn't have to be. They're literally in hell. Why does Stolas have to be a good person? I feel like
yeah, okay, this is the most replayed part of it. Let me see why.
All in that episode, but did that ever really go anywhere? Stella was built to be this
wait a minute, what point was he making there? Let me go back.
Go anywhere either. Like, anytime we get any...
Alright, well, he's talking about, he's seeing a pattern. Things aren't going anywhere.
Episode like that, do we have unhappy campers that literally revolves around Moxie getting jealous at Millie because she's better than him at stuff and she's more popular?
This episode is complete garbage from start to finish, so I will never defend anything about this episode.
Than him. This is what I mean when I say character regression. And outside of the writing, quote unquote, feeling like a fan fiction, it just doesn't really go anywhere either. Like, anytime we get any big moment, any character development, if it doesn't involve Stolas and Blitz, it doesn't really go anywhere. Blitz being Millie's best friend was cool and all in that episode, but did...
You're talking about in the, like, third to last episode we got in the show so far? Like, do you expect it to immediately go somewhere in the next episode? Like, no, that's not how storytelling works in a show like this. You have to give it time. So that's stupid.
that ever really go anywhere? Stella was built to be this villain putting hits out on her husband, only for her to not really care and only be a mean girl to him. And
no, it had a massive impact on the show. It ended up creating the whole Mastermind episode where Andrealphus stepped in and was the actual voice of reason and actually created some sort of an effect based on this cause, which was only established, like, this happened in season 5 of episode 1. Then it's brought back again in season 4 of episode 2. So you're like, okay, after seeing Stella again in season 1 of that, in episode 1 of that season, showing more about her, we see more of the assassination plot in episode 4. And it actually ends up hurting Stolas really bad. So this does come back in a major way in season 2. It's like huge. It's hugely important for the Stolas. Like, he almost dies, and his relationship with Blitz is tested in that episode. And then it's brought back again in episode 11 of this season with Mastermind. So how exactly was this dropped? It totally went somewhere. It didn't just get dropped. What the fuck are you talking about?
have her brother come in to be the last minute villain. Every time Stolas says he's gonna be a...
Oh, have her brother come... That's your problem with it? That Andrealphus came into it? I mean, Andrealphus was set up earlier. He was set up in episode 4. Like, she's set up to be a vapid idiot. She's not set up to be someone who's, like, really cunning and intelligent.
To him and have her brother come in to be the last minute villain. Every time Stolas says he's gonna be a better dad, that's just out the window. I don't know how many times we gotta have...
All right, we've already been over this. This is a stupid complaint.
Have this moment over and over again. By the way, I cheered when this happened. There's just so
I
many
already
moments
heard
that feels like we're supposed to get more out of this series, only for it not to come, which honestly just makes me feel like I'm wasting my time. And I've seen fans of the series trying to...
Apparently that was, for some reason, the most replayed segment. I don't know why. But yeah, that's all for that. I'm not watching the rest of this. And that's the last video I'm watching this stream. Got through 3 videos. Yeah, I'm definitely clipping that. That guy I'm clipping for sure. Both of his. He just seems like such an idiot to me. But, yeah, I guess,